New Orleans Convention Center, home of Super Bowl 59. Now, here's Mike Gill and the Sports Bash.
Welcome aboard, everybody. The Sports Bash live on Radio Row in New Orleans. We've got a whole cast of characters ready for you here on a Sports Bash Wednesday. I'm your host, Mike Gill. We have a Inside the Birds crossover this week. Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast is going to be a part of the show for Football at 4 virtually throughout the whole day. And, of course, it wouldn't be Radio Row without Scott Grayson here with us here from Fox 29. And, of course, Grayson's Grades. The Sports Bash on Radio Row. We got great interviews all day long, all week long. And this hour of the show is brought to you by Visit South Jersey. Plan your weekend getaway close to home at visitsouthjersey.com. And our friends at Circle Hyundai off Exit 109. It's worth the drive. Huge rebates and savings on every Circle Hyundai in stock. Visit circlehyundai.com. All right, boys. We got so much going on. We got so many different interviews we're going to be talking with. We'll give you the lineup for today's show in just a minute. I know, Scott, you were at the Eagles availability today, so we're going to get some insight from you. Moshe, you guys have been doing a lot of Inside the Birds podcasts and shows all throughout the week, so I'm sure you've got some interesting insights as well. Let's first just start off with the spectacle that is this Super Bowl event and the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles are back. What is the number one storyline? We'll start with you, Grayson, because you were at Eagles availability today. Is there something that they're talking about or that's being asked about the most?
You know, Mike, what I always am drawn to every time we're here and the Eagles are here is I like to see how they are handling everything, because I think that gives you a little bit of an indication on what might happen on game day. If it looks like they're stunned, if they're deer in headlights, that kind of thing, that tells you they might not be ready for this moment. But being here 2 years ago, I really think that this team is ready to go. To me, they look like they're focused. There's the biggest player to me that the biggest difference has been is Jalen Hurts. 2 years ago, I felt like by about Wednesday, Thursday of Super Bowl week, he was starting to get irritated with having all the media obligations that were there day after day after day. He has been laughing. He has been smiling. I even thought he handled himself really well today, and I think that was big. I think that seeing Jalen Hurts be comfortable in this setting, to me, looks like, and the rest of the team too. I think a lot of these guys are ready for this. They have been calm and done well, I think, in this moment with what Super Bowl week is. And I think that, Mike, that's the first thing I look at. How are they handling it? And to me, so far, I think they're handling it well. I think they're interacting well with the media. And to me, there is more media here than I think I've ever experienced in all the Super Bowls we've been around. Opening night was just in a way, a bit of a nightmare with how much media
you were at
around.
opening night. He was here Monday.
There's a reason for that, Scott. Yeah. And that sort of why there's so many people here parlays into what I'm seeing about this game from a big picture. This game is about legacy. It is. And that's not something that guys on the field.
For both sides.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One team is fighting to become an immortal. That's obviously the Chiefs. Trying to be the first team to win 3 Super Bowls ever in a row. I'm sorry, 3 Super Bowls in a row. The other team is the Eagles, who just lost 2 years ago to this Chiefs team. And if they lose again, which, by the way, I mean, it's a one. They're not favored. They're the underdog. If they lose again, you start to be the team that lost 2 out of 3 Super Bowls, and your coach is going to be the guy who's not getting it done. The Buffalo Bills are going to start to become synonymous with how you're discussed. And none of that matters from an on-field, but you're Jalen Hurts. You're the quarterback who had the turnover in the last game. If you don't win this one, did he win the national championship, or is that the game where he got pulled for Tua?
He got pulled.
All right, so all that stuff will come into play if the Eagles do not win this game. It doesn't diminish who they are. It doesn't diminish what they've done. If anything, it only makes what the Chiefs are doing even that much more impressive.
So with that,
but the fans of the Eagles, everybody here will tell you, and I'm sure Scott has heard this too, that the Eagles have the better 53 man.
Yes, I've heard that multiple times.
Yeah. So if they lose,
I believe it
and
myself.
I think they did 2 years ago as well. So if they lose again, your legacy now starts to come under question, fairly or not. That's the way it's going to be.
So I guess the one question in these games all the time, who's got more pressure on them this week? Is it trying to win a three-peat? Is there pressure to try to win a three-peat? Is it Andy's legacy is cemented? Patrick Mahomes, is he playing, is he chasing a ghost? Is he chasing something? Or is more pressure on Philadelphia to to not do what you just said, become pseudo Buffalo in losing back-to-back Super Bowls?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I tell you this, I think that it's a risk-reward thing. If the Eagles win this game, Nick Sirianni, people get off his back, Jalen Hurts, they will become the team that, sort of like the 2017 team beating Brady, you sort of become immortal just for that one accomplishment yourself. And I do think it helps the franchise. You win this Super Bowl and you start to put 53-man rosters together like they've done, you then maybe start to take your step into being the team that people discuss like they're talking about the Chiefs now. Maybe you get back here a couple more times. We'll see what happens.
A couple things. You know, we're going to be talking, by the way, coming up, former Eagles linebacker Stephen Tulloch is going to join us. And we're really interested in hearing from him because, obviously, he was here for a very short period of time. I don't know if many people even remember him and his tenure here. But they brought him here. He played for Jim Schwartz. And many people thought that him coming here to play with Schwartz, he was going to immediately take over that role. But what I'm interested in is hearing from him the evolution and the importance of Zach Bond and Oren Burks in this particular game. One of the things that we talk about all week long is, you know, we're going to talk to Kyle Rudolph later on today. Give us perspective on Kelsey, Goddard from a tight end's perspective. We're going to be talking to Brian Billick, head coach, former offensive coordinator. Does he think the Eagles are leaving too much meat on the bone? We're going to talk to Mike Smith, former defensive coordinator and head coach with the Atlanta Falcons. When he sees the Eagles' defense, what does he like about their personnel, and how would he game plan for Kansas City? We're going to be talking to Chris Canty tonight. Why does he hate Nick Sirianni so much? We'll talk to Canty at 5:15. We're also going to talk to Malcolm Jenkins at 5 o'clock tonight. We're going to get his perspective. 2 years ago, he was on this show and talking about the Eagles secondary and all the issues there. How does he feel about this particular team? But getting a chance to pick people's brains. So Tulloch is going to join us in less than a half an hour. Bond and Burks, to me, guys, I don't know about you, they loom large in this game.
Well, I will put this on you guys. First of all, I have talked to Bond a lot this season, even talked to him at opening night. And when I talked about moments, and guys, look, he came from being a special teams player to now he's up for Defensive Player of the Year. And he was sitting at one of the podiums on the field he played at, right, in the Super Bowl. I think, to me, that he's handling it so well. I thought he handled it really well on Monday night. So in terms of people being ready to play this game, I think he is. You talk about Oren Burks. I think this team is going to really miss Nakobe Dean in this game. I think his speed is such an asset at that position, his instincts. I think they missed him against Washington, but it ended up looking like they did okay and handled Jaden Daniels pretty well in his absence. Oren Burks is a big part of this, and I think you're right, Mike. What's interesting is the position that this team has neglected for so many years at linebacker has proved to be one of its strengths this season.
Yeah, and, the really fascinating part about your Burks comment is this is a guy who unexpectedly last year – he started the Super Bowl because they came out in a 3-linebacker package, and then he wound up being the nickel starter because Dre Greenlaw tore his Achilles. And if you recall, the Chiefs really went after him. But now this is a different defense. It's a different everything's different, surrounded by good players, but he was last year as well, including Fred Warner. But you do have sort of vivid recollections of Andy Reid saying, boom, that was, that's an injury that's really going to favor us. Let's go after it.
Well, and you look at what the Eagles did back. This is one thing that I really like that we saw last week that they did before they left Philly was they had Brent Selleck running and simulating Travis Kelce, right? Because you got to believe that Oren Burks might be at times having to shadow him, but they did it with a defensive back always helping. And I got to believe that's what the Eagles are going to try to do today on Sunday, is try to use somebody from the secondary to help Burks with Kelce and blanket him and say, listen, we're not letting you beat us. Mm-hmm. He might get catches underneath, but nothing further than that. I got to believe, but you're right. It's interesting to see what the Chiefs do. Do they come out and say, there's Oren Burks again, and let's go after him like they did a year ago?
Because this game is the ultimate chess match because there's a lot of good on good here. And what I'm really curious, Mike and Scott, when we talk to people today is to sort of figure out who's got to come out of their shell a little bit more than who from a coaching standpoint? Meaning, let's just take Vic Fangio. He is I don't want to call it bend but don't break because the Eagles have been pretty stiff this year, but we saw what Washington did on the first drive. If you can protect, you can find the holes in the zone. He's going to play a lot of zone. He's going to only rush 4. Well, the Chiefs are the masters at going down the field in 12, 13, 14-yard plays and not turning the ball over. That's what Vic dares you to do.
Right.
And the Rams couldn't do it. Washington couldn't do it. The Packers. 9 turnovers, right? 0 for the Eagles. This is a different animal. So you'd kind of wonder, how long does Vic go, right, from if the Chiefs do what they do, which is work the ball to Kelsey and down the field and get some points, how long does Vic go and say, I gotta do more than just play Ben?
Well, you guys have been around Vic all year. Does he seem like he has the personality that he's going to do something off the grid?
I could see him dialing up something that they haven't done this season just because you have that extra week. And I think if you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Absolutely.
And I think at the same token, I'm sure Spagnuolo will be doing something similar on the other side with the Chiefs defense. Look, the Eagles showed us something from an offensive standpoint last week. I mean, can you remember seeing Saquon Barkley take a pitch out all season? First play of the game, he took that pitch out, went to the house.
Yep.
There's different stuff these guys do when they play the games. One of the interesting things I heard, this was a quote from, I believe, Lane Johnson, looking back 2 years ago. At halftime, they just kind of laid back and relaxed a lot, didn't really do a lot in terms of adjustments to use that time. What did the Chiefs do? They made all kinds of adjustments in that extended halftime. I think you're going to see even some things that we see in the second half of this game from Vic Fangio or Kellen Moore that we didn't see in the first half, that they're intentionally holding to do.
Oh, yeah.
And you mentioned the chess match, Jeff. I think for people that love the X's and O's of football, this is the penultimate chess match, as you
100%.
called it, that these guys, you have the best minds on both sides, I think just going to play games with each other. And the players are really the pawns just in the middle of it. It's going to be fascinating to watch.
And don't forget, as every Super Bowl comes down to, and as the one 2 years ago did, the third phase will be top priority, and it will play a role in this game. And I think that scares
I think that story
some Eagles fans.
is maybe the biggest story. You know, Jake Elliott obviously has been very good from 35 to 50, but it's 35 and in, the extra point. Can you imagine if this comes down to an extra point?
That would be a pretty interesting
Think
outcome.
about it. The score is 35-34, and you need the extra point just to tie it and potentially – and the way the extra points have gone for Jake the last couple weeks.
I know. So I did talk to Jake today because I just happened to be walking by him, and he looked up at me and said, hi. I've talked to him many times in the locker room, and he's just like – so I said, hey, it's like nobody's with you. I'm going to sit down and talk to you. Might as well, right? And I found him to be very relaxed. I found him to be – I did ask him. I said, you kickers think a lot. I mean, how much would you like this to come down to 3 seconds left, tie game, you need to make a field goal to win it? How confident are you in that situation? He's like, every kicker would love that. I certainly would love that as well. I'm confident, and he's like, I hope we win by more than that I'm not needed to, which I understand. But, he mentioned the confidence that the coaching staff and the players have shown him. He said many times I've come into the building on a Monday, and I've been greeted by the coaches right away, supporting me, having my back, and telling me that, they have full faith in me to go out there and make the kicks this week. I think that's big for him, and I think that is something he's fed off of. I didn't sense any hesitation in him, and I don't think there's any lack of confidence from him. I think right now, the fans are the ones who, and rightfully so, right? He's missed these extra points.
Yeah.
It hasn't hurt them yet. They're 5-0 when he's missed, but and from 50 out, he admitted, he's like, my foot feels good. I'm kicking the ball well. I'm hitting it well. Distance hasn't been the problem.
Right.
He's kicking with plenty of distance. It's accurate.
And unfortunately, he has missed left and right, so it's not an area where I'm just hooking it or I'm pulling it. And
Did Elliott miss an extra point in the Super Bowl a couple years ago?
I can't remember.
That's a great question.
But I did ask him about
Super Bowl 52.
Yes.
He missed the extra
I
point.
did ask him about kicking in this building. You're going to be in the dome. The elements are in a factory. He said that is nice to know. You don't have to worry about that. But he said it is interesting, and I noticed it in Arizona. He said, I've kicked in there in regular seasons. Kicking there in the Super Bowl was different. He said, I expect
that
kicking
field
here.
was a disaster.
Well, that's true. And he said, but I expect kicking here is going to even be a little bit different in that it's a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the moments. But I liked his composure. I thought that I'm not that worried about him. Let's put it that way.
Well,
sure?
yeah, I am. I seriously, after talking to him, I'm not that worried about him. I think he's going to be just fine. And now, I think in this kind of a game, I think the situation will dictate more. It won't be lack of confidence in Jake to make a 55-yarder. If it's 4th and 2 and they're looking at a 55-yard field goal, I think Nick is going to go for it. I think he's going to be aggressive in this Super Bowl.
All right, what if it's 4th and 2 in a tie game with 35 seconds left?
I think he kicks it.
You do.
You almost have to.
I think he does too, by the way.
I mean,
I think he puts him out there, and everybody just goes like this with their fingers.
Well, you guys, it's like the whole season flashes before your eye. Every decision that's made and everything that happens, and you go back to the Jacksonville game where basically they just kept going for it and just kept going for it, just kept going for it.
Right.
And in this game, they won a Super Bowl because they were so aggressive. Do they just say, we're going to go for it, the heck with it?
I think there'll be more of that. Partly because, look, anything 4th and 1 and in, you've got the tush push. It's almost automatic. Now, again, you talk about the chess match. I'd love to see how the Chiefs try to stop that this time. They saw it 2 years ago, of course. I think it's interesting how teams try to go over the top of that play. Yeah. I don't understand that.
I think they should get their tush pushes out, the Eagles, this game, because, and I've been saying this for a couple of years,
you think it's getting banned?
I am even more confident than ever it is getting banned because now the NFL really has the whole player safety issue that they're going to pretend is the reason when it's really an aesthetics issue for them or an optics issue. But now you got guys, you're right. Why are you leaping over the pile when they're going low? You're just jumping on top of them. Oh, maybe you're trying to hurt somebody. You know, and the NFL is going to use that as a reason to outlaw it.
And listen, I think we all learned something last week. Mm-hmm. I didn't know you could award a touchdown.
Yeah.
I did. I know a lot of rules. I did not know that.
That sounded like when you were young and your parents wanted to punt it. I can take this away from you right now. They're like, we can award them a touchdown if we want.
Yeah. Sports Bash Live on Radio Row this hour brought to you by Visit South Jersey. Plan your weekend getaway close to home at Visit South Jersey. And our new friends want to welcome aboard Circle Hyundai, who's on board for this amazing event and experience. Circle Hyundai off exit 109. It's worth the drive. Huge rebates and savings on Circle Hyundai in stock at circlehyundai.com. We have a Inside the Birds kind of crossover today. If you're watching on the Inside the Birds YouTube channel, if you're watching on the at Mike Gill Show YouTube channel, on the X platform as well. Scott Grayson from Fox 29, Jeff Mosher from Inside the Birds and Football at 4. I'm Mike Gill, of course, the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN Radio. We've got a plethora of information and guests today. I know it's like information overload sometimes, but I really think that it's going to be a good mix of a tight end, a linebacker, a general manager. Thomas Dimitrov's going to join us. I'm really interested to see because the one guy, Howie Roseman, who built this team second time, he's another huge factor in this game, the way they built this team and how different it is from 2 years ago. So getting perspective from a GM on how Howie is able to do what he does.
And they've made trades, by the way. I've talked to Thomas before. They've made some deals before in the past.
I think we obviously have a lot of time over the next few days to break this down, but I think that's one of the biggest stories of this Super Bowl is what Howie has done. And I have been critical of him in the past, but
you're not the only one.
You look at the additions, right? Zach Bond. You look at the rookies they drafted who are making such a big impact on that defense right now. Yes, did they miss on some? Yeah, you could say Bryce Huff was a miss.
Bryce Huff and Devin White.
Right.
Yeah.
But what you hit on this year is unbelievable.
Absolutely.
And
now, are we giving him Zach Bond credit though? Because I feel like that was Vic.
That was Vic.
Well, even Vic has said it was my idea, but I didn't know he was going to be this
You know
good.
what though? Part of being good at your job is taking information from others, though. But like if you say to me, "Hey, I got this young kid, Andrew DeCecco. He's a really good reporter. You should use him," and I say, "No, I don't want to." That's bad on me.
Of course.
At least I said, "You know what, Jeff? I'll take your word for it. I'll give the kid a chance," and he's done a tremendous job
but then
of
also,
football at 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. And it's also the guys who have produced in a year later, right? I think we could all say Nolan Smith really improved, especially late this season with the opportunities he got with Brandon Graham out. He became more the player they thought they drafted. Jordan Davis, I think, has had a better late season. And when you look forward, it's gonna, we can all look ahead, right? What's going to happen this year? Are they going to re-sign Zach Bond? Right, that's a big one.
Huge.
What are you going to do with Slay? Do you bring him back if he wants one more year? What are you going to do with Brandon Graham if he wants to play one more year?
Yeah. Milton Williams is on a contract year.
One of the things you could argue that hurt this franchise was loyalty to players after they won the Super Bowl last time. Do they make those same mistakes?
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Mosher, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Okay.
A matchup where you think Philly has a big advantage.
Oh, the one that's really glaring is obviously left guard, where Mike Caliendo not Frank
Not
Caliendo.
Frank Caliendo, huh?
However, you can say Mike Caliendo playing left guard is forcing Joe Tooney to do his best Frank Caliendo and do an impersonation of a left tackle. He's a great left guard. At left tackle, he's what you would expect. He's given an effort. He's trying. But on the left side of the line, they're clearly inferior to Josh Sweat and Milton Williams. And Milton Williams has had an unbelievable season.
Yeah.
So that is
well,
an
guess
area.
What? And Milton Williams is a free agent.
Yep, and so is
this
Josh
is
Sweat.
the kind of night where you can make some money.
Oh, yeah. And he's from New Orleans, right?
I mean,
Isn't
how
he
many
from
times
Louisiana?
how many times have we seen a guy have a big breakout Super Bowl and then he's the free agent in the offseason and gets the big deal?
Yep.
Javon Hargrave kind of cashed in on some of that. This team will definitely look a lot different. And I know nobody wants to really look ahead yet, but when you talk about whether or not this team, second Super Bowl in 3 years, if this team's going to repeatedly start getting back here, I mean, these are big off seasons in what you do and what you choose to do and who you choose to sign, who you choose to let go. I think this franchise has a good chance to be here almost every year. Now, you look at the schedule next year and you go, holy cow.
Oh, man. That schedule is brutal.
Yeah, that is brutal.
By the way, the other big free agent, not that we want to get into that, is Mekhi Becton and how his –
talk to him today.
How his future – do teams view him as a tackle? He's going to play guard in this game. And one of the big challenges, if you're looking at a matchup, is how do you deal with Chris Jones?
And I feel like the Jalen Carter discussion, and deservedly so, he's been a game wrecker, a game saver, a hero, whatever you want. But he's almost sort of taken this attention away from the fact that Chris Jones is a Hall of Famer and maybe the most underrated player in the NFL.
We'll ask, Mike Smith, former defensive coordinator and a head coach, but he was a defensive mind guy. If he could draft a player or one of these defenses, who would he rather have? Which defensive unit? I'm interested to hear his take on that. Plus, if Thomas Dimitroff, the former Falcons general manager, if he could draft somebody on defense, is it Jalen Carter? Is he the first pick in this Super Bowl draft?
Has to be.
And if you have that guy.
For counting age, has to be.
Yeah, that's a big ingredient in it.
Yeah.
I've had too much jambalaya and gumbo today.
No, you can't have too much.
No such
Mike.
thing, my friend.
No, you're right. I had too much last night.
I ate some alligator yesterday.
Man.
How about that?
Yeah. The food is unbelievable here. The music. I said, we're all in Jersey. I said, can you imagine going out to a party and seeing a band with a trombone? I mean, they had a trombone and just the brass in this town is phenomenal. We're live in New Orleans on Radio Row, the Sports Bash. This hour brought to you by Visit South Jersey. Plan your weekend getaway close to home at visitsouthjersey.com. And Circle Hyundai off Exit 109. It's worth the drive. Huge rebates and savings on every Circle Hyundai in stock. CircleHyundai.com. All right, we're going to be talking with Stephen Tulloch, the former Philadelphia Eagles. He mostly had his best years with Detroit, with Jim Schwartz in Detroit. We're going to get his perspective on that matchup. Oren Burks against Travis Kelce. How does a former linebacker see that matchup in this game on Sunday? We have that answer coming up next right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and streaming live video on our crossover today on the Inside the Birds YouTube channel and at Mike Gill Show on YouTube and on the X platform. Stick around. More Sports Bash Live on Radio Row up next.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill live from Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by VisitSJ.com and Circle Hyundai.
Go to get your game on at the Gallery Bar Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Get in on the parlay while in the middle of a party. Go for the sports scene and go for the endless screens. Go to the Gallery. Go to the Fanatics Sportsbook. Go for the win at Ocean Casino Resort. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
South Jersey Gas is your energy efficiency partner, helping you lower your utility bills and use less energy. Conserving energy and saving money has never been more important. However, sometimes it's hard to know where to start. That's where South Jersey Gas Conserve comes in. Conserve is an online resource with energy-saving incentives, easy tips for saving energy and money, and much more. Check out Conserve today and start saving at southjerseygas.com/conserve. Go Birds!
There's a place where you can come as you are, see how it's made, and why we make it. You'll explore roads less traveled, steal a few moments, and slow down the clock. Then just kick back and stay a while. It's time to get away close to home in South Jersey. Head to visitsouthjersey.com to plan your trip today. We'll see you down the road.
Ernest & Son Meat Market in Brigantine is your Eagles' big game headquarters, featuring a box of mouth-watering subs for up to 15 people for $80. The perfect addition for your Eagles party. Ernest & Son Meat Market delivers your big game trays, buffalo wings, meatballs, homemade sausage, and subs. Ernest & Son Meat Market is open 7 days a week from 9 to 4. Order early and call now, 266-1588. Ernest & Son Meat Market, for your Eagles big game catering, delivery, or pickup. Go Birds!
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guaranteed details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Over 40 years ago, John Jenkins Sr. invented the heated bench for football players. Today, Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning brings that same innovation and reliability to your home or business. Need plumbing repairs or a new gas furnace, boiler, or water heater? Ask about utility loans up to $25,000 at 0% for 7 years and rebates up to $29.50. Call 609-641-6440 or visit jenkinsandsons.com.
Xfinity here. How can we help?
Hi. My daughter invited her entire class to her birthday party. Can my Wi-Fi handle it?
Oh, well, at Xfinity, our latest gateways have tri-band Wi-Fi technology, letting you connect hundreds of devices at once.
No way. So if all the kids are watching stuff on their phones, well, their parents are sharing videos online.
Yep, go ahead and watch videos. They can all do their thing and party their way. No problem.
Oh, we are gonna need a bigger cake.
Now through March 21st, get fast, reliable 300 megabit Xfinity internet with unlimited data included and an unlimited mobile line for just $30 a month for 1 year. Visit Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless plan and auto-pay with stored bank account. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Xfinity internet required. Reduce mobile speeds after use of monthly data included with your data option. Data thresholds and actual internet speeds vary.
Now back to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live on Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by VisitSJ.com and Circle Hyundai.
All right, Sports Pass Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show, and we're doing a special crossover today with the Inside the Birds YouTube channel, so you can watch there as well, so you can see all the sites and just check out the distraction. We got the McAfee Show right behind us, so if you're watching on YouTube, their setup is kind of like right over my left shoulder over this way. It's been a bizarre day just watching everybody kind of walk through here. You see all these former players and current players. We saw Myles Garrett walk through here earlier.
Potentially future Eagle?
Right. Well, I was going to say, everybody just automatically thinks like Howie Roseman's going to make that move. But he goes out and requests a trade, and now he's here on Radio Row. It makes me think of like Jerry Maguire. Where it's like, get out there. Now he's like, all of a sudden, that's a pretty big name to be walking on a Wednesday here at Radio Row, Myles Garrett. Can we ask him if he's interested in Would he be interested in Philadelphia?
I'm sure he's going to say he's interested
Why
in everywhere.
Wouldn't he be? Yeah.
By the way, I think Jaden Daniels was walking around as well.
I heard his name floating around here. Yeah.
So a couple of big names in the building, and some. We saw Darren Sproles.
We thought
big name, little guy, big name,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that was definitely Sproles.
He went up to him and said, "Are you Darren Sproles?" The guy said no, unless he was messing with him.
I think he was messing with him. Now, I will say, 2 years ago, I was doing the live stream. We were doing live stream. It was myself and DeCecco. And, when we're doing all this, where people are coming left and right, like you're saying, and you're not processing everything really clearly.
Oh, yeah.
And as you guys know, the Andy Reid impersonator, who looks he walks in and walks sort of toward our table as in the middle of a live stream, and I see him, and, I still know Andy. Andy recognized it. So I pointed at him, and he pointed back at me, and as he's pointing at me, DeCecco starts laughing, and I realize I am an idiot. I am the world's biggest moron. I am getting duped by the Andy Reid impersonator. I actually thought it was him, and that I was giving him a little. And then I thought to myself,
he does such a great job.
Why would he be here? Yeah. Listen, the guy was limping the way Andy had been limping 2 years ago, right? So he did an unbelievable job, and here I am. I'm like, I can't.
We had him on. We have him on, and I have a picture of the two of us.
Yeah.
And the picture. So for Christmas, somebody got me one of those Aurora, the digital things, and I have a picture, and people come in the house all the time, and they're like, "You got a picture with Andy Reid?" Like, it's a spinning image of Andy Reid. While we're waiting for Stephen Tulloch, former Eagles linebacker, is going to join us here in just a couple of minutes, scheduled to join us here. That's another thing. People they're talking to other stations, they get pushed behind, so sometimes the schedule gets a little bounced, but we'll hopefully catch up with Stephen in just a couple minutes here. But you guys, the role, we're going to ask Stephen about it, but the role of Oren Burks stepping in for Nakobe Dean. Now, it's worked out pretty well. You haven't even thought of Dean, but is this a game where this change might be a factor? Burks played in the game last year for San Francisco, did not have a great night. Now, that being said, he didn't know he was starting that game. They kind of threw him out there. But did the Chiefs say there's a weak spot in Philadelphia's defense?
I think they have to. I think if you're Andy Reid and the offensive staff, Scott, you got to look and say, look, this is clearly not Nakobe Dean. He's done a nice job, but we know him from the year before. We were able to, or 2 years ago. No, it was last year when he was in San Francisco. We were able to go after him there.
Right.
It's a different defense. We were not necessarily going to throw at him 50 times a game. They're going to play a lot of zone anyway, but I do feel like that's the part of the field that they're going to look to try to make some hay on.
And that's why I expect the Eagles to give him help with Kelsey whenever that happens. And also, I think you brought it up earlier, the holes on this Chiefs offensive line a little bit. Jalen Carter and company, how quickly can they get Mahomes to move out of that pocket and have to start looking for other guys?
Well, we know one of the stories of the last Super Bowl was they couldn't get to Mahomes.
Yes.
Well, that was partly the field. I mean, 70 sacks that season, and nobody on the end could plant a foot to gain any kind of leverage to get to him. And I know, those guys don't use that as a big excuse. They'll complain about it when they can, but but this obviously won't be the case this week.
Well, 70 sacks, that team. Do we look at this Eagles team as a pass rushing team? Did they have a good pass rush? Like, that was the story all season. And then early in the year, we're like, they just don't have the pass rush. They don't have enough pass rush.
They weren't tackling well early in the season. Yeah.
Well, I think that's what makes this Eagles defense, from our standpoint, really fun to analyze, because for the longest time, and since all of us have been covering this team, they've really been built front to back. But this year, more than any year I can ever remember, I think the back end helps the front end. Jalen Carter's a beast. Josh Sweat can still bring it. But there have been a lot of tight windows that quarterbacks have tried to throw into. I mean, Joe Burrow really struggled, I think, less with the pass rush and more with Cooper DeJean on 4th-1 closing and making those tackles. Quinyon Mitchell. I really think this has been the most dynamic, most athletic, and best overall Eagles secondary since the days of Lito and Sheldon Brown. And we're going back, some people are listening to the show saying, oh, I remember when my dad and mom used to talk about Lito and Sheldon, right? So, that's like 20-something years ago.
I have just been so impressed with what Quinyon Mitchell has done against the receivers he's had to go against this year. I mean, his stats are phenomenal. I think he is going to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year. He should be.
You think so? I think he probably should, but you know how people go with stats, right? And I think Jared versus sacks are going to wind up.
And Quinyon had opportunities for interceptions and didn't pull them in until the playoffs. But by then, it's a little late to get those votes.
Yeah, it's a regular season. I think the votes already are in by the playoffs.
I think
if I'm
you're
not
right.
Mistaken.
Yeah.
So,
But I think he's done well. And of course, when Slay's been able to stay on the field and he's been coming in and out. Look, when this team didn't have C.J. Gardner-Johnson because he got ejected against Washington was when it was its weakest, I thought, in the defense.
Yeah.
I think they just all have come together so well. And you're right, the back end allows the front end to have its success.
And that's really the first time we've talked about an Eagles defense in that light. I mean, even 2 years ago when they were very good at creating turnovers and James Bradbury was a Pro Bowler, we know that teams felt that they could still, if they could block up the Eagles, they could get after Bradbury. That's what the Giants thought they could do in that first game, and the Niners came out and said it, right? And it didn't happen for them because they couldn't block it up, because that's how ferocious the Eagles were up front with the 70 sacks, right? This year, I think it's completely different. I think that you don't look at a guy in the Eagles secondary and draw a red circle and say, we can go after him. Now, you might find footage of Cooper DeJean struggling with a guy like Adam Thielen, right? You might find
Cooper Kupp.
And Cooper Kupp. And Quinyon Mitchell getting from Terry McLaurin. You find little individual, but you don't sit there and find a boatload of tape on these guys missing assignments.
And by the way, one of the big things in this, the Chiefs don't have that top flight number one wide receiver either.
Correct.
So even if you're saying you want to nitpick on Cooper or Quinyon or Darius Slay, they're not going up against Justin Jefferson this week. I mean, Xavier Worthy's guy's got some speed, and they've used him better recently here. He's got 10 touchdowns, so they manufacture ways for him.
Right.
But you don't feel like, man, you got your hands full with their receiving core.
And I'm not afraid of their running game either. I just think the Eagles' defense has done well with stopping the run for the most part, that I don't think you have to worry about Pacheco beating you.
No, I don't think so either.
Well, he did in Super Bowl 57. I mean, he had a really good game in that. I mean,
he's a hard runner.
Right.
I mean, he'll get his yards because they're going to dedicate to running the ball with
But they have kind of transitioned to Hunt a little bit here.
He's played really well for a guy who was signed off the street. I mean, maybe the time off allowed him to get fresher legs. It is a pretty good combination. They're just not going to give up big 25, 30-yard runs like the Chiefs are probably going to wind up giving up a few of those to Saquon Barkley. I agree. I don't think that's the concern. I don't think the Eagles go into this game thinking, man, we got to figure out a way to stop the combination of Pacheco and Hunt.
You got to stop somebody.
It's forcing a turnover somehow. It's forcing Patrick Mahomes to not have some layups to Travis Kelce, Marquise Brown, and
the Belichick method. You got to take the best player out, and who's that guy then?
And that's what I go back to, watching a little bit of what the Eagles did last week. Two guys, and using Brent Selleck with his big body to help these guys get used to it. To me, I feel like they're on the right track. Can they execute? That's the big question.
All right, Sports Bash live on Radio Row this hour, brought to you by VisitSouthJersey.com. Plan your weekend getaway close to home at VisitSouthJersey.com. Circle Hyundai off exit 109. It's worth the drive. Huge rebates and savings on every Circle Hyundai in stock. CircleHyundai.com. I'd be remiss if I didn't say Joel Embiid got off the couch last night and had a triple-double. Just yawned his way to a triple-double. 30 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
They won. They're playing again tonight against the Heat. You can listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN. When we come back, former Baltimore Ravens head coach, Super Bowl champion, going to be talking with Brian Billick here on the Sports Bash. Get a head coaching perspective on the matchup. Coming up.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live from Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by VisitSJ.com and Circle Hyundai.
So you need a new car or SUV, but you're upside down in your trade, but you're worried about your down payment, but your credit is less than perfect. Bring your butts to any Matt Blatt Kia today. With over 1,100 new Kias, all with zero down, zero payments until April, or get $10,000 in bonus cash, or 0% for 72 months on every clearly marked Kia EV6 and 9. Buried in a loan or lease? Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released. New all-wheel drive Kia Sportage or Sorento. 1.9% for 60 months. Matt Blatt Kia with our PA and New Jersey Kia Superstores, Abington, Egg Harbor Township, Toms River, or right to your front door.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
With approved credit, $13.89 per thousand finance. Not all will qualify. Credit may affect down payment. Offers can't be combined. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details, or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes through KMF. Rebates and incentives to dealer. Expires 2/4/25. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and on Route 37 in Toms River.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on singlecare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app today.
Spring forward with real unlimited data from Straight Talk this tax season and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. So you can stream games during Mad March hours, check the weather for April showers, and watch gardening videos about May flowers. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 4/15/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires purchase of single line gold unlimited plan or higher. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Terry's Tiny Homes, Terry! Sure, as the only employee of her company, Terry was probably the front runner, but saving money getting personalized discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive, well, that gave Terry the edge. Over Terry.
Terry, Terry.
Keep awkwardly chanting your own name, Terry. You deserve it. Woo! Be your own Terry. See if you could save in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Blow the whistle. Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. There's only one official sports bar of your Philadelphia Eagles, and that's Chickies and Pete's. Ready for the big game? Go where the players go. Don't wait. Reserve your table right now for the big game for all of our locations at chickiesandpete's.com. The best in-game experience anywhere. Be the MVP of your big game with Chickie and Pete's to-go catering. The Eagles are in the big game. Chickies and Pete's. Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. Wrap up your workday with the all-new Chickies and Pete's Happy Hour. With unbeatable specials weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Enjoy half-price orders of Chickies Meaty and Tender Wings, one of our tasty and delicious pizzas, or an order of mouth-watering hot, cold, or fried shrimp. Plus $3 domestic bottled beers, $5 Tito's, and $6 seltzers. It's the all-new Happy Hour, weekdays 4 to 6 p.m., only at Chickies and Pete's.
Now back to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live on Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by VisitSJ.com and Circle Hyundai.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Sports Bash Live on Radio Row here in the Big Easy, New Orleans, which is, by the way, one of the more unique cities maybe in the entire world. Anybody else have food, music quite like this place? It's like when you get here, you're like, no one else is like this place. Brian Billick, Ravens head coach, 1999-2007. He is a Super Bowl champion. The Eagles trying to make it their second Super Bowl, and he joins us right now on the Sports Bash Live on Radio Row. Coach Billick, good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's the Super Bowl never gets old. This event just keeps bigger and bigger and bigger. How different is this event from the Ravens Super Bowl?
Well, just the sheer that's the biggest thing about the Super Bowl that coaches have to deal with is just the magnitude of this event, the sheer logistics. When you just look around this hall and you recognize the sheer presence of virtually every radio and television and streaming service, just the magnitude of it. And that's really where you have to help your team the most, because they're coming into an atmosphere that if they haven't been here before, it can be overwhelming. So you try to normalize your practice structure and what you're doing during the course of the week. From today on, up to now, it's just you just let it go. It's whatever it is, it is. But now you want it to feel a little more normal for the players. You get back into your practice routine to try to remind them at the end of the day, the game is still the game.
Coach, I want to get your perspective on preparation this week and what changes for the head coach. You have Andy Reid, who's obviously done this multiple times. Nick has been here.
Right.
But is it a different week for you guys?
Well, you really have to look at it. It's 2 weeks, because it's really about managing that bye week and what you want to get done, and then coming in during the course of the week. What most people do is the first couple days, and we had a great administrative staff. Okay, you guys get all the ticket stuff and travel. You get all that handled. Okay, you don't even have to come back into the office. Coaches put the game plan together. The best advice I got was to have your game plan done that first week. We did very little. We didn't even work out. We did have walkthroughs. You get the game plan installed so that you show up on Sunday or Monday, you could play the game. But then when we get here, you realize and you just absorb everything that's going wild on Mondays and Tuesdays and the fans and the media and everything about it. But as a coach then, like I said, it's okay. Now I got to put us back on familiar footing. Wednesday's got to feel like every Wednesday we've ever had. Third, the same sequence, and you want it to be the same. We actually put the pads back on, try to get our pads back underneath of us. You had to freshen up the game plan a little bit because you didn't want it to get stale, but it was all about managing the time from Wednesday till kickoff.
Coach, your Super Bowl was remembered for having a great defense, a great running game, Jamal Lewis, and a quarterback who did a nice job securing the football.
Absolutely.
When you look at the Eagles, is it hard not to see 24, 25 years later where, we went through a long stretch of passing? This Eagles team has a lot of components of what your Super Bowl team
It does, and it has the right components. The physicality of what the defense represents, their ability to handle the run, and to me that's going to be the key. Because Kansas City, beyond just the fact that Patrick Mahomes is such a unique talent, they're a team that's built on good defense and running the ball. And obviously Patrick Mahomes augments that in a very unique way. The Eagles are supremely situated to match and beat that physicality. I think they can handle the run with their standard spacing fronts, the front seven or the front six based on and which is going to be huge. That, to me, is going to be the biggest challenge. If they can, and then continue to show the physicality in running the ball, setting up the big plays to A.J. Brown down the field, that can be a winning formula for them.
How do you just explain, in all the years of coaching and analyzing, a guy like Zach Bond, who goes from special teamer, kind of afterthought, edge rusher, to defensive player of the year candidate at inside linebacker in his first year ever playing it?
Yeah, it's an evolution of the players and matching, and you give the coaches great credit.
Definitely.
Of matching his skills to what you need for him to do. A lot of times, you take a good athlete and you put him in a position and you need to do this, and he either flounders or he flourishes, one or the other, just based on the sheer physicality of what he does. Vic Fangio and that group, everybody, Vic is at best, and Vic worked for me before, beyond the schemes. And the best thing that Vic Fangio does is he puts players in a position to win. He has them do what they do best and maximizes that rather than putting somebody in a position and saying, well, we need for you to do this. Try to hang on and see if you can produce.
We're talking with Brian Billick, of course, the Super Bowl winning head coach from the Baltimore Ravens. Before we get to xtechpads.com and your investment there, which we heard a lot about the safety of the game
right.
with Roger Goodell the other day. You're an offensive guy. I know many people look at those Ravens teams and think defense. When you look at the Eagles' offense, is there more? If you had this talent, would you say there's more? Or do you like the fact that they have said, you know what, we've got Barkley. Who cares about A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith?
There's always more. I'm a coach, man. There is always more.
He sounds like he's been hanging around Philadelphia.
But what I see in Philadelphia, which is obviously a sheer physicality to what they do, they believe in it. And I know can they really throw the ball down the more? Can they be more explosive? They've done what they needed to do to win and play to that strength. It's like the team that gets a lot of turnovers and is on a short field and wins the game big, and you look and go, but they only had 250 yards of offense. Well, that's because that's all they needed. That's the way the game. The Eagles, I think, and they're buying into that personality. Could they be more explosive? Sure.
Yep.
And will that show up? May they need that this game? Possibly.
It's in your back pocket.
Yeah, exactly right. This is going to be a good game because I think they match up very well with, oddly enough, Kansas City. Even though it's Patrick Mahomes, this is a team that's built on defense and running the ball.
It's crazy. You know, I think most people said 2 years ago, the Eagles have the better team, but they have Reed and Mahomes. Almost feels similar this time around, right? Where the Eagles might have the best 53, but they have Reed and Mahomes.
The difficulty for the Eagles, because I'm asked all the time who's going to win, and I'll do 50 shows today on Radio Row, and half of them I say the Eagle, and half of them I say Kansas City, and then on Monday I only do shows that I said that I picked the winner, because then half the country thinks I know what I'm talking about.
You are a seasoned veteran, Coach.
X-Tech, we heard a lot about the safety of this game. Tell us about the X-Tech shoulder pads and how that is helping with all of this.
It's the next evolution of protection for our players. It's the ultimate. What's in the game? Take the head out of the game. Well, that means the shoulder pads become that much more important. It's the leading pad in pro football. Better than 90% of the players are wearing X-Tech pads. Majority of major colleges, high school. What I'm really excited about is we're now getting down into the youth level. I have grandsons. I won't let them play unless it's an X-Tech pads because these pads in the old days, it's like everything. Technology has improved it to the point. This is at the forefront. These aren't just big pads on big guys and little pads on little guys. These pads, after 13 years, AI-driven, based on your height, your weight, your position, your injury history, what level you're at, because the targeted fitting of the protection for our players, that's where the evolution of the protection of our players is right now, whether it's the helmet, whether it's the way we practice, the shoes, the fabrics they wear. It's about maximizing the protection and the efficiency of the players. X-Tech pad is that pad.
Coach Brian Billick, head coach of the Super Bowl champion Baltimore Ravens. He's in the Ring of Honor, and of course, he is here on the Sports Bash. And his interview is brought to you by South Jersey Gas, providing reliable natural gas service and energy-saving programs you can count on. By the way, check xtechpads.com, and you can check them out on Instagram. I know there's a lot of local high school and youth league coaches that listen in our area, so check out those pads, xtechpads.com. Coach,
thank you, guys.
Pickett on this show.
Let's see. Let me guess.
We're the Eagles affiliate.
The Eagles.
All right, then we're going to have you back on Monday to talk about
All right.
Head Coach Brian Billick, everybody here on the Sports Bash live on Radio Row in New Orleans. And that interview, again, was brought to you by South Jersey Gas, providing reliable natural gas service and energy programs you can count on. More Sports Bash with Mike Gill, Jeff Mosher, Scott Grayson, our entire Sports Bash crew. We are live in the Big Easy. We've got more interviews coming up on the Sports Bash.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the Sixers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Oubre has it again. This time he fires. It's good. He nailed it. A triple from the right side by Oubre.
It's Sixers Heat tonight. Coverage begins at 7:30. It's Sixers basketball all season long on South Jersey's radio home for Philadelphia 76ers basketball. 97.3 ESPN.
Now Taxes is using Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get your refund so you can do more with it.
If you or someone you know needs help getting through a difficult time, start with NJ211. When you reach out to 211, we can connect you to help with housing, utilities, food, childcare, senior services, income support, healthcare, legal issues, and more. Help is available in over 150 languages, and the service is free, confidential, and available 24/7. Need help? Dial 211, text 898-211, or search nj211.org.
Are you ready, South Jersey? As the birds soar to the big game, Broadleys is here to keep your home comfort in the game. Don't let a broken heater or leaky pipe ruin your celebration. Call Broadleys Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning for fast, reliable service you can trust. Just dial 609-390-3907 or visit Broadleys.net. Go Birds and go with Broadleys, your hometown plumbing and heating champs since 1911.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, it's Mike Gill. The Nizam's Indian Restaurant on Route 40 in Egg Harbor Township is ready to serve you delicious Indian dishes. NJ.com ranked them as the #2 best restaurant in all of New Jersey. And this just in, It's their Eagles football special. Your table receives free tandoori, spicy chicken wings if the Eagles win for dine-in customers only. Join them for a special lunch buffet, Fridays through Sundays from 11:30 to 3 p.m. Visit thenizams.com for more information.
Home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN.
Sounds great, guys.
WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City.
This is the Sports Bash, live from Radio Row at the New Orleans Convention Center, home of Super Bowl 59. Now, here's Mike Gill and the Sports Bash.
Sports Bash live on Radio Row. We're at the Convention Center in New Orleans. This hour is brought to you by Broadleys, your trusted local source for plumbing, heating, and air conditioning service and installation since 1911. We got a good hour for you, Mike Gill. Fox 29, Scott Grayson. You guys know him from Grayson's Grades. And, of course, Inside the Birds crossover all week long. Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast. You can watch the show on the Inside the Birds YouTube channel. And you can also check it out at Mike Gill Show on the X platform and on YouTube at Mike Gill Show. We are live on this Wednesday edition. Harry Douglas set to join us here from ESPN Radio. Freddie and Harry. We heard Harry all throughout the platforms this week and, of course, leading into the Super Bowl.
And he is set to join us right now on Radio Row. Here in New Orleans. And this conversation with Harry Douglas is brought to you by South Jersey Gas. South Jersey Gas provides reliable natural gas service and energy saving programs. You can count on. Harry Douglas, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. And first and foremost, speaking of gas and energy and that whole nine, the bill I just received on my email for my bill this month is not a very friendly one.
No?
I took it to my wife. I was like, I might be putting everybody at the damn house. Next month.
Energy costs rising. South Jersey Gas.
Get help.
Well, Harry, man, we've ascended to the Big Easy. I know you played in Atlanta and this big rivalry here, but this is something else. This is something else. It's a unique spot. This is
well, number one, think about the culture, right? And a lot of people compare it to Atlanta. You have music, you have the culture, you have food, and I tell people all the time, my two favorite things when it comes to New Orleans in this state is the food and the women. So number one, when I say the women, I'm talking about my wife, baby, because her dad's side of the family is from the Ninth Ward. You know what I mean? So thank you to Mr. Anderson bringing me my beloved wife, who has helped me tremendously. Lord behold, I needed it.
Well, let's, Harry, you played, of course, 10-year NFL wide receiver. That's an interesting role in this game, right? If you look at Philadelphia's wide receiving core, why not more? Why not more? You as a wide receiver, you wonder the same thing. You say, no, I get it, man. You got Saquon, and he's doing his thing. They're fine. Or do you want to see more from AJ Devontae?
Surprisingly, I'm going to give you an answer that you're probably not going to expect from a former wide receiver. The run game is so valuable for the pass game, and when you have the ability to rush the football effectively, like we see the Philadelphia Eagles second in the NFL this season, it makes the pass game that much easier. And I told a story earlier on ESPN Radio about, going in we had a meeting room, and I was in the room with Roddy White and Julio Jones, and Roddy White was looking at the script for one of the practices, and he was like,
not the NFL script for this game,
right? No. So he basically was like, there are too many passes on the sheet. Like, we have to run the ball. Like, we can't be this one-dimensional. And he went upstairs, and we changed a lot of things in it. And granted enough, a lot of wide receivers, we love the run game because that means we're going to get the one-on-one coverage. Not more guys that have to be committed to the box, come in and try to stop and, make the run deficient. So when you look at an A.J. Brown, he's been the best wide receiver versus man coverage this season. I think the forgotten guy this season has been Devontae Smith. And Devontae Smith in the last 3 games versus the Kansas City Chiefs, he's averaging 6 catches, 107 yards receiving. Because he's the guy that can beat man coverage, but also get in certain spots and vacant spots in zones. So I think Devontae Smith, when it comes to this matchup, is going to play a huge role.
I think when you look at Philadelphia and their offense, it's so Barkley-centric this year.
Yep.
But when you look on the outside looking in, is it really that Barkley-centric? Like, they have – if you're a defensive coordinator, it's got to be a nightmare to figure out what to do with this. Because in any week they can decide this is the week we're going to throw the ball.
You know what? I disagree, though.
No?
I disagree.
Well, what about the week where AJ, they said, what's wrong? Pass it. Then the next week they said, we'll show you. We can throw, boom. He's throwing all over the place.
And they played who? The Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah.
What was the deficiency of the Pittsburgh Steelers?
True.
The pass defense.
Yeah.
So the reason why I say I disagree is because what's demoralizing to a football team, especially a defense, is when you have the ability to run and move a man from point A to point B against his will. And there's nothing you can do to stop it.
Yeah. Well, along those lines, Harry, the offensive line for the Eagles, obviously you played in this league a long time. How good is this offensive line, and how much do they dictate that kind of punishment on the opponent?
So I think it's a top 2 offensive line in the NFL right now currently, and they're led by Lane Johnson. Right? A lot of people thought it was going to be tremendous drop-off because Jason Kelsey, but you look at everyone, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, those guys have really stepped up. But I believe going against this Kansas City Chiefs defense, when you have a Chris Jones that has the versatility to play inside and move outside, it gives the defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, a lot of wiggle room as a play caller. And you can dial up a lot of different things. When you have a defensive tackle that's that disruptive, and you can put him in, move him around that offensive line, and we got 2 guys that coming into this game a little banged up, Dickerson and Cam Jurgens, right? So at any point, if those guys get re-injured, then Chris Jones is going to have a field.
Harry, I wanted to ask you about A.J. Brown from a wide receiver standpoint. The concept of late hands we see all the time with him, where the ball's in the air, and at the last second, he's able to pluck it out over the shoulder. Is that a coachable trait, or is that, because I don't see a whole lot of wide receivers, especially as big as him, being able to do that? Or is that just something that's innate?
I think both. You have coaches that emphasize it. We did it with Coach Terry Robinski in our room. And I thought Julio Jones used to be really great at that. Mm-hmm. Late hands, not letting the defender know in man coverage if it was side by side with Julio that the ball is actually coming and making everything look like it's a runoff on a run play. A.J. Brown does a phenomenal job, but he also has that body mass, right? He's a big, strong body wide receiver. So, if he's going against smaller defenders, it's going to be easy for him, and he fighting through contact, right? Guys grabbing onto your arm. It never impedes his path in his route or anything like that. So I think it's a skill, something that you can teach yourself, but also something that your coach can implement in drills.
He's a really physical player, too. You're just mentioning breaks, tackles. I mean, the Eagles are known as a physical team, which starts with the offensive line. But when you have him and Goddard in the passing game, making all the yards, not after catch, but after contact, I feel like that adds the extra element of why the Eagles are so physical, because it just doesn't stop with the running.
So let me say this about A.J. too, because I don't see him catching as many balls in the middle of the football field as he did when he was with the Tennessee Titans.
Right.
And that's something I would like for Philadelphia to do better moving forward, because I want to see him in a 3-by-1 formation lined up at number 3, right? And he has that delta over route catching the football, or lined up at number 3 and run a 3-man option with a number 2 shallow coming across the field. I want to see those things. I want to see A.J. Brown on a slot fade. Those are the things I want to see from him, especially on key third down plays.
I want to talk to you, Harry, about Jalen Hurts, because nationally he's not really seen as one of the top quarterbacks in the game lately, it seems like, at least what we've been hearing in Philadelphia as well. The lack of respect, does he need to win this game in your mind to get more respect, or is he already starting to get it this week?
I think after watching him in the NFC Championship game, you've seen a lot of more people bring the respect towards him. But if you're able to negate a three-peat, if you're able to beat the standard in the National Football League, in which, when it's all said and done, there are going to be a lot of quarterbacks that played this game that we view as great that won't have a Super Bowl because of Patrick Mahomes. If you're able to not be one of those guys and to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, you have to go in a different type of category. And what we do know about Jalen Hurts, he's a winner, man. You look at his days in Alabama, and adversity has never sunken him or put him in a sunken ship. He's only fed off of it and has come back and faced that adversity and had a ton of success in every single opportunity.
We talked a lot about last week leading into the show or to the Super Bowl. as Jalen gets a lot of criticism, he doesn't throw for 300 yards. He's not this guy. He's not that guy. And they said it doesn't really matter. The best game he ever played, they lost.
Yes.
And you wonder how much Philadelphia and having Hurts, them not having to worry about getting him his, how much that makes them the team that they are.
Well, I think it's important, in number one, to be selfless. The team goal was to win a championship. Right, and I'll sit up here and I'm gonna defend A.J. Brown too. I don't think A.J. Brown is a selfish player.
You got his book
at all, right there. And as soon as I seen him on the sideline reading his book, I praised him for taking the proper steps to not blow up. Because I'll tell y'all, what number one wide receiver? I played with two, Roddy White and Julio Jones. There's no way in hell I can imagine a game plan where your number one receiver isn't trying to get the football.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys weren't vocal about getting it, but our offensive coordinator never put him in that position as well. So for Kellen Moore, you have to make sure as an offensive coordinator, your receiver is never in that position.
Yeah.
You can throw them screens, nows, slants, the whole nine. Let them touch the football.
We're talking with Harry Douglas, host of Freddie and Harry here on ESPN Radio. And, of course, the narrative, it seems, everybody this week is that Philadelphia has the better roster. They have Reed and Mahomes. Is that a fair narrative? Is that something you're looking at?
The Eagles do have a better roster. They have a better team on paper. But what you can't take away from Kansas City is experience. Look at their secondary. They have all young guys except for one player, and that's Justin Reed. The rest of their secondary are in year 1, 2, or 3. But those players that I'm talking about have been to 2 Super Bowls, and this is their third one, so they have that experience. I think you also, when you look at the supporting cast and why teams haven't been able to dethrone the Chiefs, the supporting cast of Patrick Mahomes, when their number is called, they show up and make the play. That wasn't the case for Buffalo last week. That wasn't the case for the Baltimore Ravens last year in the AFC Championship game. That wasn't the case when it came to the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud got sacked 8 times. Right? So it's quarterback-centric as we make these games.
Yeah.
What we can't forget is that it is the ultimate team game, and other guys have to play their parts too.
Is there a matchup in this game, personnel-wise, that it will be too insurmountable for the team to overcome?
No.
No. You take a look at, they got Caliendo playing guard. A lot of people have brought that matchup up. You know, if you can somehow get, a matchup there, or is there? So there's not a weakness that's going to. Oren Burks at linebacker filling in for Nakobe Dean. Last year he was in this game. They had a pretty good day with Travis Kelce matched up
But
there.
I would also say Oren Burks has come up huge in the playoffs.
He has, yeah.
Oren Burks forced a fumble on the very first play of the game versus Green Bay.
Yep.
He's another guy that forced a fumble versus the Washington Commanders, right? At a time where I thought if the Commanders went down and scored a touchdown, it would have made it a 4-point game, and maybe the pressure's on Philly. Maybe they don't come out and win that game, right? So Oren Burks is also a guy that has stepped up to the plate and stepped in for Nakobe Dean.
Harry, is there a coach, a coordinator in this game, or just conceptually, somebody has to come out of what they do best a little bit to stop the other?
Making you think.
Might have to be Spags.
He has to come out of what he does?
Now,
because of the run?
Here's
run?
Here's the part to it. You gave Spags 2 weeks to prepare.
Right. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so you have ample time to be able to implement new things if you want to. And they're so well coached. Another part of being able to go on a quest to win the three-peat is having smart players. You might not be the most athletic. You might not be the best in the National Football League, but you have smart players that do what their coach and understand how to attain information. And just because you draw up a certain way on the board, it's not going to be like that on the football field, but they understand that. And they know how to still overcome that and make the plays.
How do you see this game playing out? Who do you like? Close game? Like one team to win it big? How do you see it?
I see the Chiefs three-peating. I do want a close game, but that's why I had the Chiefs winning it, because it's close.
Okay.
If the game was 38-35 2 years ago, if that's the score again, who wins that game?
Chiefs.
Close game, back and forth. They figure out a way.
In order for Philly to win this game, don't make it close.
If the Chiefs win this Super Bowl and three-peat, when will they ever not win a Super Bowl again?
But see, that's another question, because we keep hearing about potentially Travis Kelce could be retiring. Why would you retire and you have an opportunity to four-peat?
Yeah.
What sense does
There's
that
more
make?
money for him out of this game.
But still.
Right?
Think about history, how much more further you could put yourself with this Kansas City Chiefs dynasty if you four-peat after you three-peat.
Harry Douglas, host of Freddie and Harry, and, of course, you can hear him on ESPN Radio. Of course, all the platforms. You see him all over the place. Great spending some time with him right here on the Sports Bash, giving a little insight on this game, the wide receiver position. Will A.J. Brown, will it be Smith, or will it be one of the Chiefs receivers who has the big game? We'll find out. Super Sunday right here on 97.3 ESPN. Harry, thank you so much. In this conversation with Harry Douglas, brought to you by South Jersey Gas, providing reliable natural gas service and energy-saving programs you can count on. South Jersey Gas bringing you this conversation on Radio Row. I'm Mike Gill. He's Scott Grayson from Fox 29. And, of course, Grayson's Grades. Jeff Mosher, our little crossover all week long from the Inside the Birds podcast. And you can watch the show on Inside the Birds YouTube channel and at Mike Gill Show on YouTube and on the X platform. And, guys, we're going to be talking to Thomas Dimitroff here in about 15 minutes. As we look at how these teams were kind of built to get here. Because we had Andrew Brandt on Monday's show. And Andrew, on his podcast, The Business of Sports, of course, he was in the Eagles front office. He was also in the Packers front office. And what he says about these two teams is they're here because they're the best run teams, right? They have the best owners, the best front office, all of that stuff. So you take a look at how that factors in for this game. Howie Roseman, again, Brett Veach, and Andy Reid over there. That's going to be an interesting conversation coming up. But something that stands out about what Harry said, of course, with the wide receiver position.
Something that stands out?
Yeah, I mean, he brought up a lot of interesting points. I think the one point that he brought up to me that was pretty interesting is maybe they don't have the best athletes, but they're smart. They know the game. And sometimes you don't think about it like that. It's always who's more talented, who's better.
I like the idea of putting A.J. Brown on the inside a little bit more, give him more room to operate and do some different things.
Yeah, he was mentioning a play that it's called the Bang 8, where you run verticals and then an in-cut, which A.J. Brown would be the in-cut guy. That was how A.J. Brown really excelled in Tennessee's offense. It wasn't really until he became an Eagle that that deeper vertical threat element to his game. I'm not saying he didn't have deep touchdowns in Tennessee, but he was known as the yak guy. And I think he sort of rediscovered himself in Philadelphia, or redefined his role, where he became a very deep down the sideline type of guy. But this year, Scott, he's been more of the stop slant route, like quicker guy than that. So it's been a different year for him this year.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to get a little impromptu conversation right now. And obviously, one of the themes of the NFL season is injuries, guys. And we're going to talk to one of the top injury doctors right now. And we're going to get – is he all set up over there? He's ready to go?
I'm ready. You're ready.
Well, and we take a look at I'm trying to think. Brandon Graham has this tendon situation here. Would you be surprised to see him play in the game on Sunday? And by the way, Dr. Chow is with us, Pro Football Injuries. Would you be surprised to see him play on Sunday?
First of all, I love Brandon Graham. Great career. What a great story if he could, quote, walk it off with a ring. But it wouldn't be his first ring. But let me tell you, from a medical perspective, and I'm not doubting the man, I'm not doubting his ability, I don't believe it will happen. I don't believe it will happen because he's barely over 2 months since his triceps tear surgery. I get it. There's video of him running around at practice and doing well. But as I've told other people, yeah, his legs were never injured. Now, I'll just say this. I was on with Ross Tucker earlier, former offensive lineman. I said, Ross, he thought Brandon Graham would play. I said, Ross, what would you say if I told you you're going up against a D lineman who's 2.5 months from a tricep surgery and he really can't hold you off or lock out or hold you off? He'd said, and Ross said, so these are his words, I would hope our offensive game plan is he's the point of our running attack.
Well, what to follow?
Now, could he come in for a few pass rushes?
That's what I
think that's all he was being used for, yeah.
Maybe, but here's my – so this is where I go on insider knowledge, not insider information.
Right.
Knowledge about football and knowledge about these injuries. So, okay, maybe, but remember, you got a limited roster spot, and this is the Super Bowl. And if you think about it, roster management is not easy. Look, are the Eagles going to activate only 7 offensive linemen? I doubt it. With Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens. So you need at least 8. You might even go 9. Where are you going to get the bodies and room for?
Yep.
Okay? Now, it's a different story. Look, And Howie Roseman is very smart. He's going to, if there's no roster room, he's just going to say, BG, we love you, and we'll get you your final ring. Yeah, but, we're not – roster spots don't grow on trees.
Well,
because he's limited in the roster spot situation, I don't believe that he will play or be that effective if he does.
I think, and this would be kind of radical, but I don't know if I would put it past the team to do it. Bryce Huff is only playing 6 snaps a game. So if you were going to play Brandon Graham 6 snaps a game, I could see them making Bryce Huff inactive. I mean, they barely play him at all anyway. They've already conceded that this has been a bad first year.
But let me ask you this question.
The problem is if they suffered an injury and they needed a guy, right?
In front of them,
yeah.
In front of Bryce Huff or Brandon Graham, can Brandon Graham go 60 snaps?
Yeah, no, you'd have Nolan Smith, though, and Josh Sweat, and then your situational guy.
And
but
you
if you
guys
did
know
get
the
an
Eagles
injury
better
to
than
that, yeah.
I do from a depth point of view. For example, Cam Jurgens, Ross Tucker also was saying he hadn't heard of a situation where a starter didn't start,
right,
but was still active and on the bench, but then came into play.
And had to play.
And you tell me if this is correct. My summation of that, and you know the Eagles' lineups and depth charts way better than I do, is that you all are thin on the interior of the offensive line. So they knew that Cam Jurgens wasn't 100%. But Cam Jurgens injured is still better than the next guy. So your emergency usage, and here you go. And he ended up coming in and playing very well. So roster management is tricky now.
Yes.
Right?
No, you're right.
And so it's not just like fans, well, let's give BG some snaps. It'll be okay. It's not that simple. There's a lot that goes into it.
So in terms of rushing the passer, what would a torn tricep where he's at this point limit him if it was just rushing the passer?
Once again, I've never examined him, but based on video and information, the triceps tears usually off the end of the elbow.
Okay.
And yes, he can wear a brace, and if he re-tears it, so what? He undergoes another surgery. You got the off season. So I get his desire to play, and I love his heart to play. I'm just saying, this is the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that guy's pretty good, too, across the line of scrimmage from you. Right? And to say that you're kind of one-armed and being able to be effective is just asking a lot. That's all.
Are we short? By the way, do you have a Graham follow-up?
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you this, and of course, Dr. Chow was the surgeon for the San Diego Chargers for a long time, so I'm sure he's seen situations like this. So Brandon normally lines up over right tackle, and it is his left tricep. So he technically has the strength in the right engagement arm right off the snap. So could he? And again, I know you didn't operate on or look at him, but if you lined up over left tackle, I think that would be really difficult because then you're engaging first with your left injured arm. But is it feasible, 8-9 snaps, if he's able to just play in a designated pass rush role, that he could give you some juice off the edge that way?
It is feasible that he could do something, and what you're talking about is it is helpful that it's his outside arm for a pass rush. So I will go with you there.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to understand the minds of – no one can understand the brilliant mind of Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, right? But the bottom line is they got a plan for everything's fine and we'll take these 9 pass rushes.
Right.
They have to plan for what if this happens? Can you do it all? And you got to look at those contingencies and big picture things. And so that's where I think it gets more difficult. I'd love to see it. It's a great story. I'd be
well,
happy
if you have in
to
the
be
back
on.
of your mind, we just need one strip sack. That could be the case. Dr. David Chow.
But the strip sack would be from his outside arm.
He ain't lining up a 3 technique this time.
I mean, I'm just saying. No, it's a great story, but also in this day and era, like, people know it's a triceps. The Chiefs are going to know, and it's dicey is all. That's all I'm saying.
Dr. David Chow, Pro Football Doc at Pro Football Doc on the X platform, and on Twitter you can of course follow him along through all the injuries. There's only one game left, so you'll be watching. I guess Jurgens, Dickerson, those 2 guys. Dickerson had to leave the game. He's had a lot of knee and leg problems throughout his career too.
Look, and obviously Hurts. He's 100% playing. He's not 100% yet, right, on his knee. And don't worry about Barkley and his calf. And
Lane Johnson said he's been playing with a pinky injury the last 3 weeks, that he hasn't gotten x-rayed.
I've been typing with a pinky injury.
Well, the number of injuries that they have. Look, if fans think the injury report, you have the team employs 5 athletic trainers, 2 physical therapists, and 3 team doctors to fly with them for those 3 injuries on the injury report. You're kidding yourself, okay? and this is an all-in game.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to play. I mean, you guys back in the day had the T.O. example, right? I mean, this is an all-in game.
How about Phillip Rivers? You know that from firsthand.
Yeah, it wasn't a Super Bowl, but thanks for twisting the knife.
This conversation is brought to you by Circle Hyundai off exit 109. It's worth the drive. Huge rebates and savings on every Circle Hyundai in stock at CircleHyundai.com. Thanks for stopping by impromptu here and giving us some update on maybe one of the most famous Eagles ever and whether he'll play in this game. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Doc.
Always great insight. Yeah.
Yes, excellent stuff. Brandon Graham, will he play in the game? There's another storyline for the game on Sunday. All right, when we come back, we've been talking so much about Howie Roseman, as Dr. Chow just mentioned. Thomas Dimitrov, a former general manager in this league. You talk about the decision to play a guy on Super Bowl Sunday, the way these teams have been built. We'll get his insight on that coming up next here on Radio Row. This hour of Radio Row, it's brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing Heating, your local source for plumbing, heating, and air conditioning service and installation since 1911. Visit broadlees.net.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live from Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Hey, AI, how many touchdowns did the Eagles score in the 2023 season?
The Eagles scored 49 touchdowns in the 2023 season.
Hey, AI, I had a fall recently. I need to recover. Please help me walk again.
I'm sorry, but that is beyond my capabilities.
Hey, AI, my parents are getting older and I can't care for them by myself. Can you help me care for them?
I'm sorry, that is beyond my capabilities. AI will never replace care, but here's what I found for the best care near you.
Autumn Lake Healthcare Centers, trusted leaders in skilled nursing rehabilitation and senior care, and proud partners of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay, things people love.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Are you ready, South Jersey? As the birds soar to the big game, Broadlees is here to keep your home comfort in the game. Don't let a broken heater or leaky pipe ruin your celebration. Call Broadlees Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning for fast, reliable service you can trust. Just dial 609-390-3907 or visit Broadlees.net. Go Birds and go with Broadlees, your hometown plumbing and heating champs since 1911.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guaranteed details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Winter is here. Are you prepared? Don't get left in the dark. Kelvy Electric, a certified Generac dealer, has you covered. From installation to maintenance, they're your go-to experts for Generac generators, ensuring your home stays powered through any storm. A Generac home standby generator will automatically restore power to your home during an outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Put your trust in Kelvy Electric, the premier electrical contractor, serving South Jersey for over over 110 years. Visit calvieelectric.com today and stay ahead of any storm.
Same game parlays and slot games for days. Double the fun with the Bally Bet app. Let's play. You can bet on football, basketball, baseball, or play blackjack, roulette, even baccarat, y'all. It's double the fun, 2 apps in one. Download it today, but only if you're 21. The Bally Bet Sportsbook and Casino app. You can win real money on your phone. No cap. Must be 21 plus, New Jersey only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Bally Bet Sportsbook and Casino. Download it.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The 2025 Hercules Tires MAC Basketball Championships are returning to Atlantic City's iconic Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall for the 6th consecutive year, March 11th through the 15th, featuring 22 men's and women's teams. The tournament is fun for the family, featuring a band jam, Spirit Squad showcase, Kids Day, and mascot game. Don't miss the chance to be a part of the action to see who will cut down the nets and earn a spot in the big dance. Visit MacSports.com/basketball for more information.
Now back to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live on Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video streaming on the X platform and on YouTube of today's show. Sports Bash crossover with Inside the Birds. Jeff Mosher's with us. You can watch on the Inside the Birds YouTube channel. Scott Grayson from Fox 29 and Grayson's Grades at 97.3ESPN.com. We are live on Radio Row. And this hour of the show, it's brought to you by Broadlee's, your local source for plumbing, heating, and air conditioning. And right now we're going to be talking with former Atlanta General Manager Thomas Dimitroff as he joins us right now. Amazingly enough, he is on site with us right here. It's a whirlwind, man. I know everybody's got you're just turning your head all over the place. You probably don't know what day, time it is, where you're at, what's going on.
I don't. I was turning the corner, and Jay Glazer came up and gave me, Jay's not the guy to mess around with, and he gives me a bear hug, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to keep on top of this. No, it's busy. I'm drinking a matcha. And someone's like, hey, man, you got some caffeine in you right now.
You need it. You need it in this place. It's funny. We've been talking all day with different, tight ends and wide receivers and linebackers. But these two teams, the way they were built, to kind of pick your brain, you've probably dealt with both of these guys and know the understandings of the way. But Roseman, Brett Veach, Andy Reid, and the way they build these teams, how much does that go into why these two teams are back here?
100%. You guys aren't looking for me to have a stroke fest with Howie. I get it. But Howie is at the top of his game. He is. And so is Brett Veach. So I love talking about both of them. And when you look at Howie and his approach, by the way, when the building of the team is obviously vital, but leading up to the building of the team is vital as well. I'm talking about he is not afraid to surround himself with really good football people, right? From Matt Russell to Dave Caldwell. He's got all kinds of really good scouting people. He does his work, by the way. You guys probably know that. He does a lot of work and continue to always hone his skills as an evaluator, right? Which is not, by trade, that's not him.
Yeah.
So I think the ability to do all that, not sit on his hands, right? In today's world, you cannot be a lame GM sitting on your hands, conservative guy. You won't last. Not for long, we know that. Brett Veach does that in a very different way, right? You guys can go into specifics here, of course. But Brett Veach is playing a little bit behind Andy Reid, right? And rightly so, one of the best to ever coach it. He's there. He navigates that so well. He doesn't have to be the in-charge guy like Howie does, but he handles it very, very well. What both of these teams do is vital, and that is making sure that they're always regularly meeting with their coaching staffs, and the coaching staffs are disseminating exactly what it is scheme-related, so you do pick the right players who fit. You can make so many mistakes out there, of course, when you have very athletic and talented people but don't fit your scheme. We've had it before. Man, it's a head hair puller outer or whatever you call it as a GM. It drives you nuts when you're not matching your scheme with your player.
Roseman's an interesting guy. I mean, polarizing. I mean, people hated him. They wanted him gone. And then he's Howie season. He's the greatest thing ever. He's not the football guy. He's
all within 6 months.
Right. I mean, well, but listen, people, we're in the Philly market, and people had to come around, and now, like, I think he might have been safe, but no, he definitely wouldn't be that.
I understand.
How much has he evolved? You've probably dealt with him in trying to make deals, and hey, he calls you saying, and we always laugh. We're like, how do people keep taking this guy's calls at this point of his career? What is it like dealing with Howie?
You know what? It's funny because Howie and I came up around the same time, right, as far as having that GM job early on, and I used to joke with him all the time. I'm like, you used to call me and ask for deuces, seconds every time. And I said, sometimes, that free agent Howie is not, you're never going to get a second from me on it. So we got through all of that, of course, and we developed a really good relationship because I do respect people in the league who work their butts off, who are focused, who are sharp minds. And Howie has, in my mind, from my perspective, I'm not in your market. You guys have your opinions. Within the league, he is highly respected. I think even to a point, you're not going to want to hear this, he has an element to him where the young GMs are nervous to pick up that phone because they're like, this cat's he's going to have me twisting and turning, and I don't know where I'm going to go on this trade. The older guys don't. The older guys aren't worried about that, but imagine that. The very first trade I ever did was with Al Davis, by the way. I was beyond nervous. I call him up, and we're trying to deal D'Angelo Hall very quickly, if you can remember that. I call him, does a deal. We do it for a second round. He calls me 2 weeks later. He's like, I want my damn pick back, and he's all over me. I'm thinking, this is Al Davis going to, ostracize me from the league. It was a joke in the end, but what I'm saying is there's a little bit of that going on here, and you guys probably don't want to compare Howie Roseman to Al Davis right now, but he's got a presence in the league right now.
You did the Asante Samuel deal with him, correct?
I did. That's right. We only did 2 deals. I think it was Asante Samuel, and there was another. There was someone writing 19 or something Didn't do that many.
Right. Right. He's almost painting a picture of that movie about the draft, which was was it called The Draft? I don't remember.
Draft Day.
Draft Day. Where,
I want my picks back.
Right. Where Costner's like, who's the one who's gonna shake in his boots?
Well,
here?
it's funny when you said it. I just watched Draft Day. I just flew home from Thailand, so I watched Draft Day on the way home, and he's like, who's that Jacksonville GM? He's a new guy. Let's get him. He'll cave, right?
That's exactly right. No, that happens. But look, the league. The really good, top-notch guys in the league in this role, they have a well-rounded view of everything, and they're multi-layered. They're not just myopic football people, in my mind. Howie, by the way, I will put this in. Howie was very involved in the international scene. As when that thing went down, when he took his time off. That's important because
he took his time off, or
did he take his time off? Well, the point is that everything that's going on in sport and building teams has a lot to do with, of course, the building, but it has everything to do with player care. It has to do with data utilization of data. I don't know if you guys are going to fold in the company I'm working for right now. I believe in that way. I think it's important. You have to have a guy that's managing that part of your team and have a wide aperture in my mind. I don't think you can be a myopic guy unless you're just hired for that. And that's not why Howie is hired.
So Nick Sirianni has a phrase, and it's, you can't be great without the greatness of others around you. And we're having a discussion about Howie Roseman here, who's done a great job. But Howie will be the first to tell you that if they couldn't manipulate the cap the way they do legally, of course, with ownership's backing and Jeffrey Lurie saying, I'm willing to put this amount of cash, not cap route, year after year after year, which some owners – Thomas, right? They don't do that. I mean, you have to have that kind of infrastructure and someone willing to do it the way Jeffrey Lurie does, correct?
That's exactly right. And I think the creativity of the cap and cash over cap and however we were always cash over cap. That's just what we were in Atlanta. But that was because Arthur Blank wanted us to be there.
Sure.
People used to throw darts like crazy at me that way, thinking that it's a cap hell, and I'm like, no, that's not it. We as an organization always wanted to spend at a certain level, and that was big for us. And I think, this comes back to what I said earlier. You cannot sit on your hands, and the creativity on the cap and what Howie does and what Who's his AGM that's on that? Is that Alec Hallaby?
Alec Hallaby, Bryce Johnson, and he had Jake Rosenberg for a while, who's left. But yeah.
I just think that's a vital part of it. You got to be on top of it.
And like the fact that this is you were in Atlanta, you were in New England before that, and obviously teams go to successful places. Hey, you're in New England. What are they doing? We want you here. They lose Philadelphia. It seems like 2 front office members every single offseason. It's like I was just surprised no one's ever tried to get Howie to leave.
I was talking to someone the other day about that. They said, why would someone not do that? And it's a really good point because they're doing it with coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, the coaching thing and the trade for coaching thing is real, by the way. I mean, I would say if I ever came back, that would be something that I would seriously think. It's not easy to do. So
trade for a coach.
Trade for a coach.
Yeah.
I mean, there are about 3 or 4, and I won't get into them now. You can imagine who they are that are worth legitimate trades. I mean, I think it's only happened 8 times in the history, I think. But I think it's a viable choice because it's so important. Back to the Howie thing, you get a top-notch person that way, that means you know what you'll be doing? You'll be spending $10, $12 million on that person, which, by the way, and this is not my plug for GMs making a lot of money, but it kind of is. And I love the head coaches making money, but you see those numbers that are coming out right now, and you still, listen, us crying in our soup. Those GMs are making 3 times less. So a GM right now, as you know, a good GM's making $6, $7 million a year. Head coaches, what are they making? First-timers are making maybe $15 million a year.
Yeah, Ben Johnson just got, $13 million?
Yeah. Those are big numbers these days. So, yeah, it's a good point.
Thomas, I wanted to ask you about the what Howie has done in terms of the draft, because that was one of the big knocks on him, it seemed like it for a while. He wasn't really hitting on those first-round picks. And when you go through the list now, it's like Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, 2 first-round picks. Jalen Hurts, a second-round pick. Look what he's turned into. Even Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. Lately, he's had a lot of success there. How, in this salary cap age, how important is that to hit with all those picks?
It's vital. I mean, it's vital to make sure that you have, again, let's bring it back a little bit, that you have the right people around you that are providing you with the right information as a GM. You're digging in. You're evaluating like I believe that Howie does with the people that he has. The other thing that I think is vital is your coaches to be involved appropriately in the process. You can't force feed your talent on your coaches. It drives you nuts too, because you can come to the table with a really good offensive tackle, but your offensive line coach is for some reason against the player, and then you say, no, we're going to have you play this guy, and then it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I think right now, though, where Howie is with his control of that organization, right, he has final football say, hands down. He can make sure that those coaches, and I'm sure there are coaches in there, and you guys probably don't want me to say this either, but I'm sure there are coaches in there that are fearful of Howie. Like, they tiptoe around him. Yes, got it. I'll coach the guy no matter how you want it to be. That's an important thing when the GM has enough sort of cachet for the coaches to say, all right, I'm going to do whatever I can to make this guy work. And not that he's misleading them or muscling them in to agree to that right tackle, but he is allowing them to say, calm down. This is not about you, offensive line coach, calling all your mushroom guys, the 31 others. It's about us evaluating it together and making the decision together. That's vital for an organization to hit.
Let me ask you, go a different direction here, because while we got you here, it just dawned on me, I got to ask you about this. Saquon Barkley comes to Philadelphia. You see those video clips of what went on in New York. You've been in that room. You've had those conversations. Could you have let a guy like Saquon go? If you were in that situation, I mean, take us in there. I mean, how hard was that for them? Were you surprised when you heard those conversations?
I wasn't surprised, because I think what happens is, as a general manager with the ownership group, and your group, right? We remember what it was. It's, you look at all the different elements. You look at, you're worried about injuries. You're trying to be, and I remember Belichick was all about this. I mean, Bill was stressed to all of us. You need to be in front of it, right? So even if you move on from someone a year early, it's kind of out of your hands, and let's find. No one projected, I'm sure, that he was going to go there and rip it up the way he did. Now, along with the whole running back situation, that was tough because there was so much out there amongst the leadership group and the GMs. Why would you ever pay? Why do you worry about a running back? There's a 4th, 5th, or 6th rounder out there that can take.
Is that going to change?
I think so. Now, it doesn't move that running back to making $25 million a year, but I think it just has people.
Because there was a lot of running backs this offseason. Henry, Jacobs, Barkley.
Yeah, but you look at everyone. They were on a mode. I mean, look at Gibbs. You watch that kid play.
Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome.
Bijan Robinson. I mean, now the Falcons don't get to the playoffs again, but that guy, you run that cat for the next 5 years. You don't worry about injuring him. That's the other thing. there is a short-lived element.
True.
You can't tiptoe around it, though.
By the way, you were with Dan Quinn in Atlanta. Is Washington, do you believe that they've turned a page now because of Dan, quarterback, if they got that right?
Yeah, I think the quarterback head coach thing is very vital there. They've done a great job feeding off of that.
By the way, I've enjoyed this conversation. I hate the fact that we have to let you roll here, but Thomas Dimitroff, former Atlanta Falcons general manager, getting the insight that we just got, awesome for the people out there. We appreciate you stopping by, man.
Anytime. Let me know if it's close to the draft. You need any tidbits.
Absolutely, yes.
Right,
We'll certainly be in touch. And that conversation brought to you by Circle Hyundai off Exit 109. It's worth the drive. Huge rebates and savings. Every Circle Hyundai in stock. All right. That was awesome stuff there. When we come back, we got more on the way. Former Green Bay running back Amon Green is set to join us here next on Radio Row. This hour brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing and Heating.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live from Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win, breakaway, pick six, three-point shot, underdog win, buzzer beater, shootout, walk-off, and absolutely every play in between is amazing. From football to basketball and hockey to baseball, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in New Jersey.
I've just been feeling so sluggish lately. You should try the Metamucil 2-Week Challenge. The Metamucil 2-Week Challenge? Yeah, Metamucil 4-in-1 Fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Start your daily routine now, and in 2 weeks, you could be feeling great. Well, it's been 2 weeks. How you feeling? Lighter and feeling great.
If you want to feel lighter by promoting digestive health, sign up to take the 2-week challenge at Metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
At Macy's, we're so ready for Valentine's Day. While it might feel like it's still a ways off, it's actually next Friday. Fortunately, that's just enough time for you to find the perfect gifts from our Valentine's Day gift guide. How about a hobo-style handbag from Coach? A 3-piece gift set from Lancome, Estee Lauder, or Clinique? A watch from Michael Kors? Or diamonds and more diamonds? Whatever your love loves, come into Macy's and find the perfect gift for your Valentine before next Friday sneaks up on you like Cupid with a little bow and arrow.
Xfinity here. How can we help?
Hi. My daughter invited her entire class to her birthday party. Can my Wi-Fi handle it?
Oh, well, at Xfinity, our latest gateways have tri-band Wi-Fi technology, letting you connect hundreds of devices at once.
No way. So if all the kids are watching stuff on their phones, well, their parents are sharing videos online.
Yep, go ahead and watch videos. They can all do their thing and party their way. No problem.
Oh, we are gonna need a bigger cake.
Now through March 21st, get fast, reliable 300 megabit Xfinity internet with unlimited data included and an unlimited mobile line for just $30 a month for 1 year. Visit Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless plan and auto-pay with stored bank account. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Xfinity internet required. Reduce mobile speeds after use of monthly data included with your data option. Data thresholds and actual internet speeds vary.
Blow the whistle. Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. There's only one official sports bar of your Philadelphia Eagles, and that's Chickies and Pete's. Ready for the big game? Go where the players go. Don't wait. Reserve your table right now for the big game for all of our locations at chickiesandpete's.com. The best in-game experience anywhere. Be the MVP of your big game with Chickie and Pete's to-go catering. The Eagles are in the big game. Chickies and Pete's. Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. Now, for a limited time, it's buy one, get one free snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday. Buy one, get one free, and enjoy the sweet, delicate flavor of snowy white crab meat. Pair it with one of our handcrafted cocktails like the Stoli Vanilla Creamsicle or the Bourbon Peach Sweet Tea. Top it off with Chicky and Pete's world-famous crab fries. Buy one, get one free snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday for a limited time. Restrictions apply only at Chickies and Pete's.
Now back to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live on Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Row, thanks to Thomas Dimitrov. That was really insightful.
That was.
It could have kept going for a while with him there, right? I mean, just dealing with Howie, the evolution of Howie, and, a lot of different things on how this team has kind of been built and some of the things they do to get here. But it's a big story in this game because both these teams, spend a lot of money on the quarterback position. And then what do you do with the money after you spend the money on the quarterback position? It's always been like, can you win once you pay the quarterback? And the Chiefs have said, we can. Philadelphia is showing that, yes, you can be competitive even after you pay the quarterback.
Because they are very shrewd with how they manipulate the cap, and it's smart. And it's something that their owner, as we were discussing, allows them to do.
Yeah, I thought that was
some
important.
owners don't. Some owners – and listen – some of them have said this will catch up to the Eagles. And for 1 year it did because of COVID, because they didn't – who could have seen that happening, that the salary cap was going to go down? And, I don't see other scenarios really happening that is going to, quote-unquote, catch up to them. But Howie Roseman did say this the other day, I think. Because Andrew DeCecco wrote about it, and I noticed a little quote. He said going forward we're going to have to do things a little bit differently. So it's really, and when we talk about this Super Bowl, if they don't win this Super Bowl, it is going to be tougher for them to annually be here unless players like Jalen Hurts or the Stars just outplay even what you expect of them, because they're not going to be able to bring back all those free agents.
And this is, too, where the draft has to meet the free agency because, okay, you might lose Mekhi Becton, but you have Tyler Steen.
Right.
Which is probably why Becton most likely won't be. You can't pay all 5 offensive linemen.
You cannot.
Right.
By the way, we keep talking Becton, Bond, and who's the third free agent? Milton Williams. But we're forgetting that Josh Sweat is on he just hired Drew Rosenhaus.
Right.
Because he's now mad. Why did I take
that was under the radar. That happened this week
exactly,
or last week.
Right. So now you're going to – and Brandon Graham will probably retire. So your starting defensive ends, edge rushers are who? Next year.
No,
Bryce Huff again?
Well, no. Yeah, it is a big issue, right? Well, you got Nolan Smith.
Right.
But outside of that,
right?
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think there's a lot there that and that's what I was kind of getting at earlier when we started talking about looking forward. There's a lot of holes that are going to need to be filled on this team.
Yep.
But, it is one thing that they've done, and I thought that Thomas brought it up too, that Howie has, and I think, Mike, you asked him about it, how Howie has evolved. And I think we've seen some evolution from Howie, from before Chip Kelly to the after Chip Kelly time. It's been impressive what he's done. Like we talked about, he had a lot of hits this year, had a couple misses, and the misses are kind of forgotten because of the hits.
Well, how about the forgetting is really going into 2023, he had a very bad offseason as far as acquisitions, right? Terrell Edmonds was not a good fit.
No.
Okay. The linebacker to replace T.J. Edwards, they wound up having to juggle Zach Cunningham and Nick Morrow. Okay,
Right.
That would have hurt them.
Right.
There was another acquisition that they made that wasn't fruitful for them, and Kevin Byard trade.
That's right.
Did not work out, and honestly, leaving them to the point where they needed Kevin Byard, right? That was difficult.
Kevin Byard played pretty well this year, by the way.
Oh, and then, by the way, the contract that they gave James Bradbury. So we're only 1 year or 2 off seasons because we're getting to the – but really, that was just the last season.
Well,
but that gets forgotten because he covered it up. He did such a great job this year.
So we have some news today about Darius Slay. Says he wants to play next year, but only in Philly. So do they bring him back for 1 more year, or do you feel that you have the necessary youth to kind of move on from that? Or do you say, you know what,
it's an interesting question, and it begs, it's all going to come down to, right, how he sits down with Slay and says,
because
how much would you take?
Right, like if he's willing to play 1 more year on a team-friendly deal, do they say sure, or do they say, you know what, that's not getting nostalgia here. Let's pull the plug and move on, and we have Isaiah Rodgers.
Is Isaiah Rodgers ready to be that guy?
He's a free agent too, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
We don't have Isaiah Rodgers back. Right. they got all those other guys, too.
Eli Ricks.
Yeah,
Keely Ringo.
The names that we've been hearing for the last 2 off seasons now.
Right.
They got all these young guys they really like. So
I mean, do you move Cooper to the outside? I love him at nickel. I don't know why I'd move him when he's playing so well at that spot.
So the Eagles were one of the few teams that I spoke to that believed he was an outside corner.
Huh. Well, maybe he could be just as good out there.
And of course, a lot of people thought he moved to safety. Now he's playing nickel. We'll see. All right, Sports Bash this hour. We're going to try to catch up with Amon Green in the next hour, potentially here on the Sports Bash. You got to remember, we're at Radio Row. Things get crazy. People's schedules get bounced all over the place. You know, one of the things we found out earlier is one of the guests, his flight got delayed. We were supposed to talk to Stephen Tulloch. We found out that his flight was delayed, and that's why we weren't able to catch up with him. But, you know, you get a lot of stations here. They run a little deep. They run a little long. So we'll see if we can catch up with Amon in the next hour. We're going to keep the discussion going with a little Inside the Birds. Football at 4. Roundtable next. And if you're watching the show on the Inside the Birds YouTube channel, at Mike Gill Show on the X platform. And, of course, this hour has been brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your trusted source for plumbing, heating, and cooling installation since 1911.
Super Bowl 59 is on Westwood One.
The Philadelphia Eagles are headed to New Orleans.
Now the Chiefs are on the doorstep of history, going for a 3rd consecutive Super Bowl.
Hi, everybody. I'm Scott Grant. Join Kevin Harlan, Kurt Warner, Laura Oakman, Gene Steratore, Devin McCourty, and me for all the action right here.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's home of Super Bowl 59.
There's a place where you can come as you are, see how it's made, and why we make it. You'll explore roads less traveled, steal a few moments, and slow down the clock. Then just kick back and stay a while. It's time to get away close to home in South Jersey. Head to visitsouthjersey.com to plan your trip today. We'll see you down the road.
So you need a new car or SUV, but you're upside down in your trade, but you're worried about your down payment, but your credit is less than perfect. Bring your butts to any Matt Blatt Kia today. With over 1,100 new Kias, all with 0 down, 0 payments until April, or get $10,000 in bonus cash, or 0% for 72 months on every clearly marked Kia EV6 and 9. Buried in a loan or lease? Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released. New all-wheel drive Kia Sportage or Sorento. 1.9% for 60 months. Matt Blatt Kia. With our PA and New Jersey Kia Superstores, Abington, Egg Harbor Township, Toms River, or right to your front door.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
With approved credit, $1,389 per thousand finance. Not all will qualify. Credit may affect down payment. Offers can't be combined. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes through KMF. Rebates and incentives to dealer. Expires 2/4/25. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and on Route 37 in Toms River.
Progressive knows finding your new home was a dream come true. You wanted a Colonial with high ceilings, hardwood floors, and a peaceful neighborhood. And you found it. Now, every Saturday at 6 a.m., you get to wake to the sound of your neighbor's leaf blower. Progressive can't save you from your noisy neighbors, but we can save you money when you bundle your home and auto with us. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Hey, it's Mike Gill. The best time of the year for football is finally here. The big game has arrived, and fans are excited to see who will be hoisting the trophy in New Orleans. You can get in on all the action at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Check out their big game giveaway promo for your chance at $1 million in prizes. 25 winners will walk away with $10K in cash, and 7,500 winners will get $100 in bonus bets. No deposit or bet required. Opt in today in the ESPN Bet Sportsbook app. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
This is the Sports Bash, live from Radio Row at the New Orleans Convention Center, home of Super Bowl 59. Now, here's Mike Gill and the Sports Bash.
Sports Bash Live, 4 o'clock hour. Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds broadcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. This hour from Radio Row, it's brought to you by Ernest & Sons Meat Market. For your Eagles big game delivery or pickup, order early and call now, 266-1588. Go Birds. They're also brought to you this hour by Clark's Moving and Storage. Moving to Breeze with Clark's Moving and Storage. Football at 4. Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast is here, and we're going to continue our roundtable discussion throughout the week with the Inside the Birds guys. But we're going to dedicate football at 4 like we always do to the Eagles and some football here as Jeff Mosher joins us now live from Radio Row all week long. And our Football at 4 interview right now is brought to you by Bally Bets. Double the fun with Bally Bets Sportsbook and Casino. New customers get both a sportsbook and a casino offer. Download it now. All right, Jeff Mosher. Scott Grayson, of course, from Fox 29 and Grayson's Grades every year on Radio Row with us. And so much to discuss in this game. We've been hearing a lot of things from individual, players who played certain positions and getting their insight on those positions and stuff. But really, this is a legacy game, as you brought back up in the first hour. Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni. I think Nick is safe for, this time around. I know people wanted him to be gone, and there was a lot of chatter after week 4. But you take a look at what they've done to get here to this game after last season. You heard earlier, Thomas Dimitroff talking about bringing in assistants and the coaches and, those changes, Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio replacing Sean Desai and Brian Johnson. Is that the single biggest thing that happened to this team in the offseason, guys?
It's hard to say yes with what Saquon Barkley has done, but it's also hard to ignore that you could have Saquon Barkley. They scored a lot of points last year too. The defense absolutely needed to come a longer way for this team to get back to the Super Bowl than the offense did. So yes and no to that, Mike. But I think the most significant change was defensively. Like, if they didn't have Saquon Barkley, would they be here? Probably not, because of some of the regression of the pass offense. But I can tell you, they definitely wouldn't be here if they had the same defense and defensive coaching staff as last year.
Do we think the regression in the pass game would be there?
Coincides with?
Right. No, well,
Well, I would argue this. I would think that the turnover total would have been higher. I just think naturally more thrown passes would have led to, like we saw in the first few games, some more interceptions by Jalen.
I think it's fair.
Yeah, they were in this game with essentially the same offense 2 years ago. Miles Sanders was here. Now you basically have you basically replaced Miles Sanders with Saquon Barkley, Juergens, Kelsey for Juergens. Right. It is, but you were here with Sanders is my point.
Right.
So offensively.
But you were, and this is what's you were here with Sanders. You're here because of Barkley. You see what I'm saying? Like,
And that's a weird
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to process here.
And by the way, Miles Sanders had a really good year that year.
1,200 yards.
Yeah.
He was a beast that year.
But in that game, he was in that game, nobody other than Jalen really ran the ball well in that Super Bowl.
He broke his hand in that game.
I believe
he
did, yeah.
Yeah, but he also he almost, I guess, sort of dropped the pass. It was almost a fumble. They reviewed it. It wasn't.
Right.
It just seemed like the confidence was getting lost in him to be a major part of that offense.
Yeah, he had 1,200 yards that year. He was a big play guy, too. He had a lot of long touchdown runs.
Right.
So that's what makes the whole thing so odd is that you were here with an offense that was more balanced or more pass, even though you had a good back. Because I remember when they signed Barkley, for the money they signed him to, and you heard what Thomas Dimitroff said. He thinks that possibly now running backs are going to start to get more respect and more looks. But, when they signed Barkley at the time, I'm thinking, for that kind of money, the running back, he's got to have like an 1,800-yard total yard season because I said 2 years ago, Miles Sanders had 1,200 yards, and last year, DeAndre Swift had over 1,000 yards. So you're thinking this guy's got to be significantly better than what those guys were. And by the way, he was.
Mm-hmm.
But it's weird to think that did they need that, or could they have counted on Brown and Smith and Goddard more?
I think they needed it, Scott. I mean, I think that if you just had brought back DeAndre Swift, who was, like you said, had a good year last year, I think you're a different offense. You're more of I think you look a little bit like last year, where you're prolific at times, but you turn the ball over too much.
To me, Saquon Barkley's biggest attribute this team needed was his ability to hit the home run. We saw DeAndre Swift at times hit holes and start going, but then getting caught, right?
Right.
Even Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
The way Saquon can break away once he clears is, I mean, look at how many 70-plus yard runs he had, 60-plus yard runs he had this year.
Yeah.
To me, I think you can't undervalue, getting tackled at the 10 and still having to push it in versus a guy being able to just go the whole way.
Yeah. They don't beat the Rams in the divisional round if they just have DeAndre Swift at running back. I don't think so. Or Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that they would have won that
Well,
game.
and it's so funny because so many of the games this year, the big play was Barkley breaking one off.
Right.
Right? I mean, it's like he's bottled up, bang, he hits a long one.
Yep.
Now, the game against Washington, the first play of the game, they pitch it to him. He hits the corner and just does a little spinnerooski, and bang, he's gone. And you're like, just like that. And I don't know that Miles Sanders is making that kind of run where he spins off of a would-be tackler and then gets up the field. But
I think you can say he would not make that kind of – Saquon is one of one in that category. I mean, the other two running backs who had great years were Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry, and those are grinders. They can wiggle. They can make things happen, but they are not acrobats like Saquon Barkley. They don't have that gear.
Are you guys – let me ask you guys this. Are you surprised if I would have told you – and I don't know the exact number, shame on me, he would have this many carries and have not missed a game due to injury at all?
I think that's the most under-discussed element of all of this. And another reason why you're here, you got to win it because are you telling me Saquon's going to be able to do this again?
Right.
Next year? Now there is some science behind it, Scott, right? Because we know that, the grass and what is it? And 2.8 yards before contact or something crazy?
Yes.
Like he's not getting hit, right? And then when he gives him the crevice, he just explodes. And so he hasn't taken as many hits, but there's no doubt the workload he's had this year. If you would have told me before the season he's going to touch the ball over 300 times, I would say, man, the Eagles must be a bad team that year. They're running into the ground or something. I don't know what's going on. And you can't guarantee that this is going to happen for the next 3 years.
In this game, where are you guys on? Is this a game that Barkley has to be the man for them to win?
I think he has to. When you say the man, I mean,
at the end of the day, you're saying Barkley again. Another Barkley.
Let me ask you, is your question, does Saquon have to be the MVP for them to win?
In the conversation, right? He had 120 yards, a long touchdown run, maybe two touchdowns that are shorter, whatever. I mean, but at the end of the day, you look at stats. You're debating on whether or not he is in the MVP conversation.
I think yes. I think you do. I mean, the only other MVP that I could see for the Eagles would be Jalen Hurts, and it's because Saquon may have had his one touchdown, but Jalen had one rushing touchdown and two other passing touchdowns.
Is this a game that Barkley is the man or Hurts is the man?
I think it has to be Barkley. I think, and I'm not trying to take away from Jalen, but Spagnuolo is going to have free rushers. He's gonna make it tough on Jalen. Even if Jalen's having a good game, there are going to be times it's tough. Well, when you play those kind of defenses, it kind of lends yourself to being able to run the ball.
If you're Spagnuolo, though, don't you go into this saying we have to limit Saquon to make Jalen have to beat us?
No, I actually think you have to say we have to live with the body blow from Saquon. We have to know that we're going to.
It goes back to the chess game we talked about.
Because I think, Scott, there are times where you play really good defense, 10 guys do their job, one guy doesn't, and Saquon's off to the races, and you're like, well, that's not my scheme. That's the problem. Well, right? So I think you have to live with the idea that Saquon's going to give them 100-plus yards, and maybe a few explosives, because other teams have, but the Packers and Rams kept it close because they shut down the Eagles. Well, shut down. They were better against the Eagles passing game, right? And that's where they weren't able to win it. That's where the Chiefs have to say, you just have to get to the passing game and know that the running game is going to give them an X amount. We can't give them X plus.
Steve Spagnuolo, if you're looking at the matchup, Spags against if you're looking at the matchup and more, you go to bed at night. Okay, I like that matchup.
But that's no disrespect to Kellen Moore. I like the Spags matchup against anybody. He's got good personnel and he's really good at what he does.
They know the Eagles' personnel very well. I mean, I'm looking at Spags. I'm no defensive coordinator, but like,
but I'll answer
this. Are they going to pressure up the middle, try to get the middle, moving out of the pocket, moving out of the pocket? That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. That I would be doing. I mean, I'm thinking Steve Spagnuolo's got to watch the tape and say, man, anytime Hurts gets pressured in his face, and has to roll out one way or the other, he just throws the ball out of bounds and kills the play.
But the Eagles, with Steichen, had plenty. They did enough to win that game.
They're not that team anymore.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They haven't shown to be that team.
Yeah.
They keep saying just because we don't do something doesn't mean we can't do something. But yeah.
But you've seen the way they've coached throughout the playoffs. I mean, they've coached more conservatively, especially in the first two games.
I believe this team said, if we don't turn the ball over, and there was a conversation with Jalen about it, if we don't turn the ball over, we are good enough. We should win every game we play, or we will have a chance to win every game we play.
100%.
Because he doesn't force those balls that he used to.
He does not. But I think it's even more special that he takes twice as many sacks as
See that can be so aggravating though at times, right? You see him take a sack. And you just throw it away or throw it over somebody's head. He doesn't. He's afraid to put it out there.
Right.
But they take that sack. They live to fight another down, and they're winning the game.
I think they coached that. I don't know if they actually said it to Jalen, because I don't think you want to tell your quarterback I don't have confidence in you. But I'm sure in the coaching meetings they say, this is a tough team we're about to play. We just can't turn the ball over. Let's coach accordingly. We'll throw when we can if we see opportunities. Certainly against Washington, which I think we will all agree of the three teams that played in the playoffs, probably the least talented defensive team. So not surprisingly, they were willing to throw the ball around a little more, right? But against the Packers, against the Rams, they did not step outside their parameters that they've shown all year long, which is run the ball, play good defense, and don't turn it over. And they coached conservatively at times against the Packers and the Rams.
Well, they have a propensity to be able to coach conservatively, because they also have the propensity to be able to get a knockout big play at almost any time. Right. You can be conservative, knowing that on the back end, I can be conservative. I also, we go back to Brazil. They had a 67-yard touchdown to A.J. Brown out in that first game. That play's always there for you, too. So they have this unique ability to be able to be conservative and be in third and 12 and still say, I have to play that. I have personnel to be able to do it.
Right. But you remember against, I think it was against Green Bay, there might have been a situation against the Rams too where they punted on a fourth down where it was close. We weren't sure. Washington, fourth and 5?
Yeah. Fake punt?
No, the 31-yard.
Yeah.
So they'll choose their spots against certain defenses where they feel like, okay, we can do this. I have confidence in our passing game against this team, and we're not going to turn the ball over. But in a game like this, against the Chiefs, who have probably the best defense of all the 4 teams they're going to have played in the Super Bowl. I don't think that they are going to change from their recipe of success, which is we will run the ball, we will play defense. If it's 4th and 2, yeah, they may go for it. But if it's 4th and 5, I don't think you're going to see the aggression that you saw against Washington.
Mike McGarry's been on the show. You know, he's on every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays during the season and stuff. And one thing he said to me on Friday's show was, for the Eagles to win the game, they're going to need, not like a fluky play, but like that signature play, right? Like David
Philly
Tyree,
special.
Philly special,
helmet catch,
the ball. You know, but like, do we feel like they need something to do something like that?
I think it's a closer game than that. This
well,
feels like a close
wouldn't
game.
A closer game suggest that there is a fluky, wonky play that makes it like you're in a close game and you need that fluky, wonky play?
Well, it was a fluky, wonky play that cost you last time. Ball bouncing off. He just running the ball. It just comes out, right? Jalen.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, I think I'm with you on this. I think the big question, and we're going to talk to people about this, you know, all throughout Radio Row, is which team just has to come out of its comfort zone just a little bit to try to spring one, right?
Oh, well, here would be the question.
Washington, it's usually the team that's not favored. Like
Right.
Washington felt they needed the fake punt.
Were you
They
guys
felt
surprised?
they needed the neutralizer.
Were you guys surprised the Eagles were the underdog in this game? I expected them to come out and maybe be the 1-point favorite.
I was.
That's a good question.
I was surprised to see, yes, that Philly was an underdog, but more surprised that the line hasn't changed much.
Yeah, I think it went down from 1.5 to 1, right?
I haven't checked it today, but
Yeah.
it opened at like 1.5, 2, depending on the book. And I figured people would jump on the Eagles and then change that line a little.
Where's the
that
money
hasn't
going?
happened. Josh could probably look that up for us. Where the
Because
money
what
is
else would
kinda hanging
change
out.
the line?
I think some
Well, if
people
you
are
had money
waiting to
coming
see.
in on Philly,
Yeah.
that would change the line and flip it maybe the other way because
Right.
everybody's saying, well, Philly's an underdog. I'll bet them. And then the lines makers might say, okay, you're betting Philly. We're going to flip that line from -1.5 Kansas City to +1.5 Kansas City because everybody seems to think Philly is going to win the game. So it's saying the public doesn't think that Philly should be the favorite here.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of people waiting to see the injury reports up to the end. They might be a little bit uneasy about whether or not some of these guys are going to play.
I want to ask you, Moach. You just said who has to get out of their comfort zone. Who is more equipped to do that?
Huh.
It's a great question. On which side of the ball?
Well, but like I feel like Philly offensively can. Sirianni said something a week or so ago. He said we can run for 300 yards and pass for 1 and win. We can run for 300 yards and pass for 1 and win. What's the difference? We still win. It doesn't matter what the stats say. But I feel that Philly is more capable of – it almost feels like for Kansas City, they have to have Mahomes do it for them and whoever his guy is that day. Is it Kelsey? Is it Worthy?
I think it's the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs against this Eagles defense will, without being an explosive team, will probably look to try something different. One or two, I'm not talking about a radically altered game plan. I'm just saying whether it's like a running back throwing a pass or a flea flicker or
Mahomes catching
end
a pass.
around. Yeah, and I do think I suspect that Mahomes, Scott, will be more of a runner in this game.
You
and
know,
a
it's funny you
designed
said
runner.
that. I feel like they're going to bait the Eagles into coming.
Mm-hmm.
And then he can get out of it, right? And I'll just have to beat one of the linebackers to make it a big game.
Vic might have
can
to come
see
out
that.
of his comfort zone, right?
Sure.
Because he plays a zone mostly, and as Washington did in the conference championship, they couldn't protect the ball. That was their issue. It wasn't moving the ball; it was protecting the ball. They went 18 plays on the first drive. If the Chiefs go 18 plays, 13 plays, 15 plays, put it in the end zone, and then get the ball again, and they're moving, Vic's going to have to come out of his. He's going to have to blitz a little bit. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying kitchen sink, cover zeros, but he's going to have to do something to get the Chiefs out of their rhythm.
Well,
they're not
that's
going to
but
turn
see,
the ball
that's-
over 3 times.
Is that something? Let me ask you this though: is that something you think with the extra week, Vic will be planning on dialing up anyway?
Yes,
just to try to surprise the Chiefs a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I know that we've been talking a lot. Guests have come on and talked about, the one area where Kansas City's pretty weak in this game is Caliendo, that guard spot
Yep.
here. And it's like, are you going to send are you going to try to maybe get Jalen Carter flipped onto that side and line him up.
Well, how could you take Oren Burks out of having to cover Kelsey? Blitz him through that gap.
Yep.
Maybe. Well, but that's the area that you want to. There's the one weak spot. It's like I have Lyme's disease. Okay, you ever tell somebody you have Lyme's disease? They look at you like, oh my God, you have Lyme's. But the thing with Lyme's disease is, it goes for the weakest joint, and then like that joint becomes so painful, and that's how you eventually find out you have Lyme's. It's like, oh my God, my knee hurts so bad I can't even do it anymore. It finds the weakest like joint in your.
Do you have Lyme disease, by the way?
Yeah.
I thought Lyme disease you get when a tick bites you, and then you get cured and you're done with it.
You do, but it's always like
always there?
Yeah, you always have it.
Oh,
so it's like,
I didn't know that.
You will always, once you have Lyme's, you always kind of have it. Now, it doesn't bother you as much.
Right.
But there are some people who get Lyme's and are like messed up big time. Like
Yeah, I've seen that.
Memory problems
Yeah.
and like if you catch it. But my point is, it attacks your weakest joint. Right,
Gotcha.
that's where the pain is so insufferable. So who is the?
So Mike Caliendo is the Lyme disease of the, is that what we're getting at?
He's the tick bite, right? He's the weakest, the joint that hurts really bad.
Yes.
But my question is, would you attack it differently? In other words, we don't blitz all that much, but this guy is the weak link in a spot where it's too weak to not do something a little different.
I mean, it sounds great in theory, but when you start blitzing Pat Mahomes, you are in a whole world of trouble.
Well, that's where you got to ask yourself,
true.
Do you want to chase him out of the pocket and then let him? I think he's at his best when he's improvising.
Yeah.
So do you want to push him into that spot? I don't think you do.
No, I agree with you. I think you would love to just be able to get a really nice front four rush.
And have your guys contain on the end so he has nowhere to go.
Right.
Boom.
Right. But
Yeah.
this is the cat and mouse because, A, he gets rid of the ball really quickly. B, he's seen everything. C, the Chiefs, for their weakest link being at left guard, their strongest is center and right guard. So, and the Eagles have good edge rushers, but I guess Joe Tooney, we'll see how he holds up. He's held up at left tackle. I guess I'm saying if that was a weak link, you think it would have been exploited by now. Because it's a really weak link to have to move your left guard to left tackle and then play a guy nobody's ever heard of at left guard. All right? You would have think that would have did them in against Houston, against Buffalo, or somebody else along the way, and it did not.
Well, but they've had to score a lot of points.
They have.
To withstand some of that.
Well, what's funny, I read this stat last week, which was of every team that's ever reached the Super Bowl, this Chiefs team has the second least amount of explosive plays.
Yes.
Out of every team, the winners and the losers. The only other team I think that had less was the Rex Grossman Chicago Bear team, which, was not a very big offensive team. They were almost a special team. They had, defense and special teams.
That was a Lyme disease offense.
True. So there's not a lot of explosive plays in this game. So it's almost like, are they going to kind of nickel and dime their way all night long? And
because that's what the Chiefs do.
Right. The last game they played, though, was 38-35 in the Super Bowl. Now, the Eagles, remember, played the Chiefs last year and beat them in Kansas City.
Right.
I mean, think about that. The season that the Eagles had that went completely off the rails, the Chiefs ended up winning the Super Bowl. The Eagles beat them on the road last year.
Yeah.
Well,
guess what? The Bills beat the Chiefs this year in the regular season, and it didn't happen in the playoffs.
Yeah,
either.
but they've beaten the Bills in the playoffs time
True.
after time.
That's true.
But do you guys see a scenario where the game has a similar feel, 38-35, or is this a low-scoring, 24?
I could see this. I could see this game almost poetically following the same line as last one. Eagles have a lead at the half.
35?
Not that high, but I could see it.
The
Eagles
neck and
have a
neck.
lead at the half. The Chiefs make some adjustments, and we say in the fourth quarter, can the Eagles adjust back? And that will decide the game to me.
I wouldn't be surprised if this game was 38-35. I wouldn't be surprised if this game was 24-19.
Yeah.
There's everything's on the table.
Yeah.
Everything.
And
I think the common prevailing notion is the Eagles better be up by 10 in the fourth quarter if they want to win.
That's what everybody keeps saying, right? Yep. If the close game probably goes Kansas City's way. So keep yourself from that. And that's how I felt with Washington, right? Washington last week, their season has been defined by taking, a victory from the jaws of defeat.
Absolutely.
So I don't want Pat Mahomes to have the ball last with a chance to win this game.
No way. There's two things you don't want. Mahomes with the ball with a chance to win the game, or a 51-yard field goal that you need to make to win it.
I would rather have that than Mahomes with the ball.
I think I agree. Because how apropos would it be that Elliott has had this year from hell,
and he makes the
52-yarder to win the thing? Who was I asking about?
That would be Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were talking about this last week.
By the way, we've been asked on Inside the Birds a lot. I can't believe it, but a lot of people have said, will Howie sign a kicker for the Super Bowl? Will they cut Jake Elliott?
No.
Do you think someone out on the street is going to come in and make more field goals than Jake Elliott at this point?
Well, yeah. There was no thought in my mind anyway that you can replace the kicker.
No, you can't replace the kicker now. I mean, they already played with fire 2 years ago with 2 punters on the 53-man roster in the Super Bowl.
And by the way, that
had to be a record.
That punt was a big factor in that game.
Sure was.
You forget that low line drive punt that set up the great field position.
You know what they say, when you have 2 punters, you have no punt to be like.
4 o'clock hour brought to you by Ernest & Sons Old Fashioned Meat Market. Your Eagles big game delivery. Pick up, order early, and call now. 266-1588. Go Birds from Ernest & Sons. That's my guy Mel over at Ernest & Sons Old Fashioned Butcher Shop and Meat Market. Clark's Moving and Storage. Clark's Moving and Storage. Moving is a breeze with Clark's Moving and Storage. All right, when we come back, Laura Oakman is a part of the Westwood One broadcast on 97.3 ESPN. She's going to give us some insight from the sideline on both these teams. Been around both these teams because they play in prime time a lot, especially the Chiefs. So we'll hear what she has to say about dealing with Patrick Mahomes, talking to Patrick Mahomes. What's it like getting inside the mind of Patrick Mahomes? I mean, you guys said if they win this one, who's stopping them? When is it going to slow down for this team? We forget Patrick Mahomes is a young guy. He's not a 35-year-old quarterback getting ready for this game. We'll talk to Laura Oakman from the Westwood One broadcast, which you can hear right here on 97.3 ESPN. The Sports Bash live on Radio Row in New Orleans.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill live from Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by Ernest & Sons Meat Market and Clark's Moving and Storage.
The 2025 Hercules Tires MAC Basketball Championships are returning to Atlantic City's iconic Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall for the 6th consecutive year, March 11th through the 15th, featuring 22 men's and women's teams. The tournament is fun for the family, featuring a band jam, Spirit Squad showcase, Kids Day, and mascot game. Don't miss the chance to be a part of the action to see who will cut down the nets and earn a spot in the big dance. Visit macsports.com/basketball for more information.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Are you ready, South Jersey? As the Birds soar to the big game, Broadleys is here to keep your home comfort in the game. Don't let a broken heater or leaky pipe ruin your celebration. Call Broadleys Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning for fast, reliable service you can trust. Just dial 609-390-3907 or visit Broadleys.net. Go Birds and go with Broadleys, your hometown plumbing and heating champs since 1911.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on singlecare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app today.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay, things people love.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my superhydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. NFL, the Eagles continuing workouts in New Orleans in preparation for Sunday's Super Bowl. Philadelphia entering that game with the number one total defense, holding teams to 278 yards per game and 17 points. Kansas City has won 17 games this season, including the playoffs, and 11 of those victories have come by single digits. Chiefs trying to become the first team to win 3 consecutive Super Bowls. NHL, the Flyers are back home Thursday hosting the Washington Capitals. Philadelphia has lost 4 straight. Tuesday in Salt Lake City, they lost to the Utah Hockey Club 3-2 in overtime. Tyson Forster with his 14th goal of the season. NBA, the Sixers hosting Miami tonight. Philadelphia beat Dallas Tuesday 118-116. Joel Embiid back in the lineup. He had a triple-double, 29 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
If there was an easy way for you to look fabulous right now, wouldn't you want to know about it? Well, then you're in luck, thanks to the Look Fabulous Now lift from Dr. Lyle M. Back Cosmetic Surgery Center of Cherry Hill. The Look Fabulous Now lift is an outpatient procedure that can rejuvenate, renew, restore, and refresh your face, jawline, and neck in as little as 2 hours. Patients feel renewed and refreshed, looking and feeling years younger in a natural way. Call 856-MAKEOVER or visit ilovelylback.com.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Worst case scenario for tonight, a period of sleet and freezing rain. I call that icy mix, making for a slippery, sloppy situation on the roads through tomorrow morning. Best case scenario is an early flip to plain rain, making things just wet. Be very careful out there overnight. Stay alert to changing weather conditions. By tomorrow, we will be all rain. That'll wrap up early afternoon tomorrow, cloudy with a high of 44. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Same game parlays and slot games for days. Double the fun with the Bally Bet app. Let's play. You can bet on football, basketball, baseball, or play blackjack, roulette, even baccarat, y'all. It's double the fun, 2 apps in one. Download it today, but only if you're 21. The Bally Bet Sportsbook and Casino app. You can win real money on your phone. No cap. Must be 21 plus, New Jersey only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Ballybet Sportsbook and Casino. Download it.
Now back to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live on Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by Ernest & Sons Meat Market and Clark's Moving and Storage.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video on the X platform, YouTube. This hour of the show, it is brought to you by our friends over at Ernest & Sons Meat Market in Brigantine, 609-266-1588. Go Birds. Clark's Moving and Storage. Moving's a breeze with Clark's Moving and Storage. We got a full lineup all week long. Laura Oakman from Westwood One. She's a part of the Super Bowl coverage. Is going to be joining us here in the 4 o'clock hour. She's had conversations this week with Saquon Barkley, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, Trent McDuffie. She's had some conversations with Trent McDuffie. That's going to be an interesting matchup, McDuffie, this week in the whole, you take a look at who he's going to match up with there. And you take a look at A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and those matchups there. So we'll talk to her in just a second about this. Adam Kaplan's also jumping on board. We just missed the football. You just missed the football at 4. Where were you, man?
Sorry, man. I was interviewing your buddy John McMullen on Sports Grid. It was cool.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Get his perspective.
I haven't seen it. He just got here today.
I got to tell him where it is. Yeah, because Jeff said it was in front of McAfee, and I keep forgetting.
No, we're in front of McAfee.
Right. No, you are. You are. So you're set up, yes.
The Sports Grid's all the way down there.
Correct.
From what I remember.
You are correct.
Yeah. So we're scheduled to have Laura Oakman on here in a second.
Cool.
She's going to be a part of the Westwood One broadcast, and galvanized.
Galvanized.
Yes, that's another thing that we're going to mention with her. She've had conversations this week with Saquon Barkley, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, and Trent McDuffie. We were just talking about McDuffie is going to be an interesting kind of figure in this game this week.
Mike, if they continue to play him on the outside, and if they play single high coverage, which means you're going to try to stop Barkley, they're going to get toasted. They're going to get housed because when Jalen sees one-on-one coverage, that ball's coming out. We talk about a lot how indecisive he can be. When he gets what he wants, that ball comes out, and it's usually single coverage.
Yeah, so he's a big figure in this game. We haven't gotten a lot to the whole way through this because a lot of the conversation, Adam, has been about the Chiefs' offensive line and the deficiencies they have. At specifically the guard spot now moving Tooney to tackle. Is that deficiency so great that it could cost them this game, or are they coached well enough that they can kind of scheme that problem up?
So Greg Cosell, who does work for us at Inside the Bird, said that Tooney's done okay. He's just okay at left tackle. He's kind of held his own, but you could beat him. But it's the guy, Mike, not Frank Caliendo, who's playing now left guard for Tooney. That's a problem. So you've made 2 offensive line changes on the left side. By the way, that's the side you protect a right-handed quarterback. So that, to me, Scott Grayson, is something I'd be concerned about.
How much? Yeah, so that was
the
where
Chiefs,
I was going to go there.
That's good for the Eagles. Yeah.
How much will Pat Mahomes be looking over that left shoulder a little bit?
Look, he's not, they've done this a number of weeks, probably like 6 weeks that they've gone with this lineup. He kind of knows what Mike Caliendo is. He shouldn't be playing, and Tooney's been okay.
Do you think Mike Caliendo knows that everybody's saying this about him?
Well, look,
you're not the only one today. I mean, it has been.
It's just funny because you're always looking for an edge. Like each team is going to try to find something. I've talked to what Jeff and I have done on Inside the Birds is we always look to find people in the NFL who know the opponent. Because when you talk to a team in season, they don't want to give you very much about what they're going to do because they can't. But they're happy to tell you what the other team looks like, Scott. So everyone I've talked to said it's Mike Caliendo is a problem. McDuffie is a problem playing on the outside. This is all about the Eagles' potential matchups. McDuffie, in a number of weeks, has been on the outside. He's a really good corner, but he's a better nickel or slot corner. You want to really play him inside. They're not very talented at corner. They execute the heck out of their scheme, do a really good job, and it's a big reason why they're here, other than 15.
Well, do you think that – so kind of following up with that, do you think that Josh Sweat could be in line for a little bit of a day?
I'll tell you what, and to bounce off of that, Josh Sweat, Moshe brought this up earlier. He just changed agents.
To Rosenhaus,
He is a free agent. What better way to say I need some more money than to have a big day on Sunday?
He does, yeah, because it'll be the last game of the season. Yeah, so in fact, Milt Williams changed agents last summer. I actually ran into his agent in the Senior Bowl. That's going to be an interesting negotiation because do we realize how good this player is, Milt Williams? He's one of their top 3 defensive players, one of the top 5-6 players on the team.
And he gets lost in the sauce a little bit because of the position he plays and who also plays that position with him.
Fans who don't understand the game, he only had 5 sacks. Well, folks, do you realize sacks are individual plays? They don't count as 20 of them. They count as 1. I think we get lost. It's quarterback pressures are way more important from an analytical data standpoint. Guy's really good. High character kid. His dad used to favor our stuff on Twitter. So who is this? We couldn't figure out who it was.
Well, and he famously was the guy that they wanted to draft. Somebody in the front office wanted to take McNeil.
By the way, Tom Donahoe was right about Lee McNeil, and Howie Roseman was right about Milton Williams. Jeff Moshe always says 2 things can be right at the same time. He's absolutely right. Howie, by the way, is on a roll. I was on Fox 29 earlier. I said, look, guys, I had my problems with Howie's drafts for a number of years. I don't know what happened. The trade up for DeGene, you didn't have to give up much. What a trade that was. Quinyon, not trading up for Quinyon, the best corner of the draft. Jalen Carter. You go through, Mike, every move the guy makes turns to gold. Like he used to be the king of free agency, and the exact opposite, Scott, of the draft. He's now both. And even Jordan Davis, who's been a disappointment, he's not a bust.
No.
He contributes.
Right.
They need him to be better.
And one of the things we talked about is, he goes to free agency, he gets Mekhi Becton.
Now, that's another one. How does this happen?
But now Becton's a free agent, and I feel like you can't pay him to come back, most likely, but you have Tyler Steen, who you drafted.
Yeah, and Steen has had some good tape, some not so good tape, but Steen has shown that he at least can play guard. So, Scott, as you go through both sides, right, if you go past the last 4 years of Howie's moves, start in 21 because 20 was not a good draft, other than Hurts, who we said at the time, trust us, folks, was drafted to be once his backup. People were cursing us out. We don't know what we're talking about. We were right. It just said Carson went south. And You know, they look. The Eagles are very lucky.
They are.
They didn't make that trade for Deshaun Watson, which they were pretty in deep for.
Yeah.
People don't understand that, Scott. Boy, Howie's also got a little lucky too.
Well, that's certainly a big part of it. And you look at it, you're right. But we were talking with Thomas Dimitroff earlier, former GM,
Sure, Tom.
about Howie and how great
he's a great
been doing.
story.
And,
Did he give you any stories?
Oh, he gave us, plenty of stories.
Second round stories?
Yes, second round.
Yeah, second round,
Al
second round,
Davis.
second round,
Very
second
well.
round. Yeah, the Al Davis stuff.
Yeah.
All right, we are now joined here on Radio Row in this 4 o'clock hour, and this conversation is brought to you by our friends at Visit South Jersey. Plan your weekend getaway close to home at visitsouthjersey.com. She will be a part of Super Bowl 59's broadcast on Westwood One, which you can hear on 97.3 ESPN. Laura Oakman is back with us here on the Sports Bash. Laura, great to see you again.
It's like just picking up where we left off. Like, I love this.
Super
Hello,
Bowl 57,
Super
yeah.
Bowl. Yes.
Wow.
Hey,
Right
how's
back
your
here again,
2
same
years
game,
been?
yeah.
Forget the teams. Like, how are you guys?
How are you, Laura? Good to see you.
Good.
It's great to be back to see the Eagles again. We were in Vegas last year, not as fun. Now the Eagles back, we're happy and ready to go. But getting ready for this week, you got a chance to talk to some heavy hitters, including Saquon Barkley.
I knew we were going
Let's start with him. You see a little twinkle in his eyes. How cool and how special is this game for him and the preparation leading up to it, knowing the whole offseason, what has happened, the season he's had, and now it's culminating in this game?
Can I go even earlier? I was looking back at some of my conversations I had with him in New York, and I brought this up to him Monday. This is what we were talking about. I talked to him in 2022, and in 2021 he had had an injury-filled year, and he missed a lot of games. In 2022, we were talking about the difference in him when you have something you love taken away from you. And he was saying how much work he had to do. And the biggest thing when he came back was saying, I want to finally let my personality show and how I play. Like, I was tight, I was stiff. Like, it just, the joy wasn't there, like all of that. So, like, feeling all of that. And so I said to him, I keep thinking about that conversation because everyone keeps saying how happy you are because you're at the Super Bowl and you're winning. And I'm like, I saw the work leading up to that. And he was like, that's what therapy is for. Of all the work that he's done leading to this moment. So he's like, he couldn't say enough about how happy I am with the people around me, with these players, with these coaches, this moment, this game, but also he's done so much work to lead him to here as well.
Lord, I just want to get back to something you just mentioned. When you said therapy, he's talked to someone?
Yeah. That's
really?
I'm telling you.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I would say the last 3 years, maybe 4 years, I've had more conversations with players about therapy, and it always comes up. I can tell you, without fail, maybe 100%, and I'm careful to say that. Every time a guy is having an outstanding season, and I'll go, what did you do in the off season mentally to get you ready? Therapy. They talk about it so openly now. And used to be a sports therapist, and they'd kind of ease it in. And now it's just full-out therapy does that.
Is it the team therapist or outside the club?
We didn't get into, it's just he credits
Wow,
therapy being
that's
a big part of the work that he's done.
How about that, Mike?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, that it's not surprising because you hear so much more about it now. I mean, the fact that these players are willing to kind of let their guard down and say, I'm going to go that route. But this has been, such a publicized story with the Giant and the Hard Knocks and him, and then he's going for this record, and then he doesn't play, and then there's fans that wanted him to play, and how did he feel about all this? And it's like he had to go through watching his free agency happen on TV, go through this season, have a chance to break the record against the team that let him go. It has to be just a wild range of emotions for him as he gets ready for the biggest game of his life.
And maybe the answer is therapy when I say this, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like seeing a guy like, hey, how are you?
He just seems like a grounded guy, too.
He's such a grounded guy, and that's who he is. And so maybe that's why to us, we'd be doing that. We'd be riding the roller coaster. But as long as I've known him, he doesn't. He's so cool like that. And I did say to him, do you think without all that work, you would have been cool with letting the other guys get the reps? Would you have wanted to go get the record? And he's like, I said, 5 years ago, could you have said it that, openly? And he's like, I don't know if it would have been. I said, he goes, I think that's always been who I am, but maybe a little more so right now with just the work of what he said is enjoying this moment, enjoying all of this. And I think what brings him joy isn't a record. I'm sure a Super Bowl championship would, but I think there's a little deeper. I think there's just a little more depth with Saquon, and not that I think that he didn't have it before, because I did, but I think that's what work on yourself looks like.
He's talked a lot about legacy, his legacy, his family name. I remember him talking a lot about that his dad had talked to him about when it came up that he wasn't going to go for the record. He's like, oh, it's our name. It's, and it's funny when you think about that, because you forget that these guys are actually human beings and they do have families. The legacy, how important is that to him, and what would this win here mean to that?
We didn't talk about that, so I'm always so careful of that. I can just speak to like what we've talked about and what his vibe is, but I do know I saw that great quote his dad said after the NFC Championship, and him saying, I don't think I've seen him this happy since he first was introduced to football.
Wow.
And I did ask Saquon, and I said, did he get that right? And he was like, I think so, but it's so much more about like where I'm at in life right now.
Which is so interesting, because wasn't the narrative that he wanted to go to New York and stay there, or is that just the narrative? Like, the fact that he ended up here, it almost seems like this is where he should have been or wanted to be, or in hindsight, this was, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
dripping in there, dripping in drama.
Right, isn't it?
But if it was anybody but Saquon, there would be like narrative after narrative, and it would have been TMZ kind of stuff. But think about how not salacious it was. Like this, for all these storylines, we could have been talking nonstop about a guy's anger and how a guy felt about not getting the record or being let go like all of that. It's been relatively calm from him.
Yeah.
From him.
You'll be a part of the Westwood One broadcast, which, by the way, you can hear on 97.3 ESPN. 17 Super Bowls, the Olympics, and a whole host of things. But you've also created Galvanize. Tell our listeners quickly about that whole venture for you, as well as you get ready for Super Bowl 59.
I love it. I'm at an intersection of Super Bowls where it's purpose and passion. I love calling the game. It's the sixth time I've called it for Westwood One, but my purpose has been starting an organization for women in sports almost 15 years ago, and it's just every age, every stage, women navigating sports, which I would have killed for when I was their ages. And so we are here over in the corner over there on Media Row, and I've got 5 rock star women creating content all about who guys are and not what they do. So there's a lot of therapy talk over there.
Wow.
But it's a really busy week for me, passion and purpose. Can't wait to call the game, but it's really fun to bring a group of women and watch them shine too.
Well, you'll hear her coverage of Super Bowl 59 on 97.3 ESPN. She's been part of Westwood One. You've been hearing on our air since 2009. You've also seen her, the NFL on Fox, for over 2 decades. So you've seen her, you've heard her, and Galvanize. Check that out as well. Laura Oakman, great insight on the mind of Saquon Barkley, maybe the biggest figure in Super Bowl 59. Thanks so much.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
you
you,
can,
Laura.
of course, listen to Laura and the team's coverage of Super Bowl 59 right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Sports Bash Live, that conversation with Laura Oakman. Visit SouthJersey.com. Plan your weekend getaway close to home at VisitSouthJersey.com. This hour of the show, as our friends at Ernest & Sons Old Fashioned Meat Market in Brigantine and Clark's Moving and Storage. I want to tell you quickly about Clark's Moving and Storage as we get you ready for the 5 o'clock hour. They are a big sponsor of this 4 o'clock hour. You name it, they move it. Everything from hot tubs, pianos, and anything you need. Call Clark's Moving and Storage today for a quote. We got more coming up, including in the 5 o'clock hour. Malcolm Jenkins joins us, plus Chris Canty. Why does he hate Nick Sirianni so much? We'll talk to him in the 5 o'clock hour, plus Daryl Moose Johnston at 5:30. Stick around, everybody. More Sports Bash coming up.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live from Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by Ernest & Sons Meat Market and Clark's Moving and Storage.
I'm Mike Mackler. At Goldenberg Mackler, we represent you, not the insurance companies. When seriously injured in any type of accident, call us. We'll speak with you for free and fight to get you the money you deserve. When injured, make the right call to Goldenberg Mackler.
For the best lawyer, call Goldenberg Mackler. With 4 convenient locations to better serve you: Atlantic City, Northfield, Rio Grande, and Vineland. Call us at 609-344 7131.
Thank you for making Total Wine & More America's #1 online source for spirits, beer, and wine. Better than all those delivery apps. Total Wine's prices are up to 30% lower with super fast delivery and no hidden fees. Order direct at TotalWine.com and pay less today.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Dell Technologies is celebrating with anniversary savings on their most popular tech. For a limited time only, save on select next-gen PCs like the XPS 16, powered by Intel Core Ultra processors and more. Plus, curate your dream setup with great deals on select monitors, mice, and more must-have electronics and accessories. When you shop online at Dell.com/deals, you'll have access to leading-edge technology to match your forward-thinking spirit and free shipping on everything. Again, that's Dell.com/deals.
So you need a new car or SUV, but you're upside down in your trade, but you're worried about your down payment, but your credit is less than perfect. Bring your butts to any Matt Blatt Kia today. With over 1,100 new Kias, all with zero down, zero payments until April, or get $10,000 in bonus cash, or 0% for 72 months on every clearly marked Kia EV6 and 9. Buried in a loan or lease? Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released. New all-wheel drive Kia Sportage or Sorento. 1.9% for 60 months. Matt Blatt Kia. With our PA and New Jersey Kia Superstores, Abington, Egg Harbor Township, Toms River, or right to your front door.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
With approved credit, $13.89 per thousand finance. Not all will qualify. Credit may affect down payment. Offers can't be combined. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details, or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes through KMF. Rebates and incentives to dealer. Expires 2/4/25. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and on Route 37 in Toms River.
Now Taxes is using Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get your refund so you can do more with it right in Credit Karma. Now this is taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. See guaranteed details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
For over 100 years, South Jersey Gas has delivered reliable, natural gas service to more than 400,000 New Jersey homes and businesses. From heating your home to cooking meals, drying laundry, and relaxing in a warm bath, natural gas brings comfort and convenience to your daily life. Businesses rely on natural gas for higher efficiency and lower operating costs. Always dependable, always ready. Discover the benefits of natural gas. Visit southjerseygas.com/gaspower. Go Birds!
Now back to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live on Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by Ernest & Sons Meat Market and Clark's Moving and Storage.
All right, welcome back to Sports Bash is live on Radio Row in New Orleans here on a Sports Bash Wednesday. Our interview is brought to you by Circle Hyundai off exit 109. It's worth the drive. Huge rebates and savings on every Circle Hyundai in stock. Well, we've been talking a lot, Jeff, about the uniqueness of New Orleans. This is a city like no others, and one of the unique parts of it is the food in this place. It's like you can't find it. You drive a half hour out, the food's different. The music's different. It's such a cool spot. We're going to touch on a little bit of that, and, of course, the Super Bowl. And one of the big matchups in this Super Bowl, our next guest can talk a little bit about is former NFL Pro Bowl tight end Kyle Rudolph is with us here. We want to get his thoughts on the tight end matchup, Dallas Goedert, and, of course, Travis Kelce. Those two are going to play a big role. And we're also going to dive into the taste of the NFL. Anne-Marie Crowdham. Did I get that right? Close. Krautheim. Yes. My second option, letter B, was the way to go, is with us here from Gen Youth. She's the CEO as well. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Well, Kyle, let's start with you first because we've got a big matchup at tight end here. I think everybody looks at Dallas Goedert and Travis Kelce as two of the best tight ends in this league. When you watch those two guys, as a guy who did it at a Pro Bowl level, give us some insight on what you watch from those two players.
Well, I think I'll start with Travis, and he's a guy that really done it unlike anyone else. The relationship, the familiarity that he has with Patrick. You see the adjustments that he makes throughout the course of a play based on coverage. When you're on the same wavelength with your quarterback like those two guys are, it makes it so difficult to cover that guy, to take him away. People every week, they go into the game like, oh, we got to stop Travis Kelce. And it almost never happens. And it's because of that. You can think you have a coverage call that's going to take him away, and ultimately those two seem to figure it out. And then on the other side, Dallas Goedert is a guy comes into the league out of a small school, South Dakota boy, super talented kid. In my opinion, one of the few guys in our league that still do it the old school way. Obviously, if you're playing tight end in that Philly offense, you've got to know how to run block. Saquon's such a huge part of that offense, and to me, it's very familiar to when I played and you have Adrian Peterson and Dalvin Cook.
Right.
Like, yeah, we're going to throw the ball around and we've got skill players on the edge, but in order for us to have the success that we have, it's going to start with running the football. And Dallas is a huge part of that. He has to be involved in the run game. Obviously, Philly's offensive line is incredible, but the tight end is a huge piece of the run game. And then certainly when he has his opportunities on third down in the red zone, making big catches in the play-action pass game on first down. So Dallas is a great player, a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's like, when you are, I don't want to say the afterthought, but you got A.J. Brown, you got Devontae Smith, and it's like, oh, you have Dallas Goedert too. Mm-hmm. How hard is it for that when you're like the third option to find your role when you probably could be a first option a lot of places?
Yeah, well, so as a tight end, one of the things that's unique about our position, and I joked about this earlier this morning, if you're a receiver and you're not getting the ball, you're kind of worthless. There's nothing else for you to do. Your job is to catch the football. And that's why receivers at times get so frustrated when they're not involved in the game because they're like, look, man, I'm here to catch the ball. Throw me the rock. As a tight end, I just mentioned Dallas and his ability to impact the run game. There's ways to stay involved. There's ways to be engaged in the game when maybe the ball hasn't come your way yet. And you never know when that opportunity is going to come as a tight end. It could be on a huge third down. It could be a play-action pass on 1st and 10 that really sets you up for success on a drive. And certainly we all know when you get down into the red zone, there's really no better weapon for the quarterback than a big-body tight end. So it's a position in which, yeah, you might be the third option behind two elite wide receivers, but at some point during the game, you're going to have to make a huge catch. And I think we've seen Dallas do that time and time again. When his number's called, he steps up with big catches and run after the catch.
Kyle, I've made the argument that I really think when you watch the Eagles and when their passing game is at its best this year, in the past it's been a little more explosive, that you would see A.J. Brown really getting those one-on-ones on the outside. Teams are defending them differently. I believe that the passing game is at its best when it runs through Dallas Goedert in an RPO, in play action. And then when you play a team like the Chiefs that's going to send different exotic looks up front, leave some one-on-ones on the outside. The middle of the field for both guys, even Travis Kelce, because the Eagles play so much zone, this calls for a tight end type of game.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a betting man, I'm taking the over on Trav's receptions. Like, it's just he's going to find holes in the zone to get, they might not be explosive plays downfield, and, Philly will play their zone and make you kind of dink and dunk your way. But I'm taking the over. Whatever the number is, I'm taking the over on his catches. But, yeah, for Dallas on the Philly side, when you think about the way their offense is built, incredible offensive line, the one of, if not the best back in football, having an incredible year. There's so many opportunities for the tight end to take advantage of that. You mentioned the RPO world, the play-action pass world. Yeah, you can line up and throw the ball on the outside to your receivers, but, things can look very similar on 1st and 10 to Saquon Barkley run, and then all of a sudden you have Dallas Goedert behind the defense making a big catch and run. So I do think that will be a huge part of Philly's offense and making sure that you get Dallas involved, because it's very easy to just, all right, let's line up, let's throw the ball on the perimeter, and then let's hand it to Saquon. And if you get Dallas rolling in that play-action pass game, I think we hear so often, we got to run the ball to set up the pass. We got to establish the run game. You can throw the ball to set up the run. I think some of the best play callers I ever had that philosophy where it's okay to come out and throw it a little bit early, and then all of a sudden they got to loosen up the zone a little bit. They got to play off. They're worried about pass, and now you got Saquon Barkley running the ball downhill, and he's tough to tackle when you don't touch him until he's 4 yards past the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Well, obviously this is a big week for everything, not just the big game. And Anne-Marie, you're here, with Gen Youth. You are the CEO of getting these young kids. And we talked about the food and the parties last night. We're pretty privileged to get to go to a party like we went to last night. But that's not always the case, and that's something that you're here with.
Right, we're here at Gen Youth is a national nonprofit. We were founded through the NFL and America's Dairy Farmers, and our mission is to help to ensure that school children nationwide thrive by living well-nourished and physically active lives. And our role here at Super Bowl is grounded in purpose. Kyle is one of our board members, and we are the beneficiary of the Taste of the NFL. It's a culinary and gridiron extravaganza. It's being held at the World War II Museum on Saturday. It's presented by PepsiCo Foundation, Quaker, and Frito-Lay, and it's really a gathering of NFL greats, top chefs, great entertainment, and we're going to bring to life the culture of New Orleans through food and football. We have top chefs from the area. I'm sure you're familiar with Brennan's Restaurant, the Palace Cafe, Restaurant Revolution. We have Zazu. Some of the items on the menu are we have red velvet lobster mac and cheese.
Oh my gosh!
We have
you guys haven't eaten yet today. You're gonna be starving.
Crab meat cheesecake.
You bring us a sample.
Oyster. I know. You got to come to us.
Come out Saturday.
Come to us. Yes. And we'll have pralines, we'll have bananas Foster, you name it.
And this is we have a lot of listeners in our area. We're the Eagles affiliate that are traveling, I know, this weekend. Yeah. So this is something that's open?
Tickets are still available,
okay.
Yes, and they can be found at tasteofthenfl.com. It is 4 to 7 p.m. You will not go hungry.
Great.
You'll have opportunity to get autographs from over 30 football players who will be at each station signing autographs. And it's at the end of the day, it's really about purpose and giving back to ensure that children are healthy. We overcome student hunger. 1 in 5 children in this country lives in food insecurity. Every day they wake up wondering where their next meal will come from. And our work at Gen Youth helps to support schools so that those children have access to the school meals that are a lifeline. For many kids, it's the only meal they get on some days.
Sure. Yeah, for Philly fans, getting the autographs is great, but the celebrity chefs and the food, that's why I'm there. You will not go hungry.
By the way, Kyle Rudolph did play with the Minnesota Vikings. He did score the lone touchdown against the Eagles in 2017.
That was about the only highlight of that.
But that game was not fun for you.
No, I still vividly remember, and I'll be quick with the story. We go down, first drive, we score a touchdown. Defense goes on the field. Not a great possession for Philly first.
Yep.
And the Boo Birds started to make their way out as we took the field for our second drive. I'm pretty sure we just crossed the 50-yard line, and I'm standing in the huddle. Latavius Murray standing next to me. I'm like, Tay, if we go score here, like this could get ugly. And it was the next third down. Case Keenum threw the pick six, and I'm like, well, it got ugly, but it didn't get ugly in our favor.
Patrick Robinson, man.
And it was one of those games.
That was loudest link I've ever heard.
The score seemed so lopsided, but, then again, I remember right before halftime, we had the ball inside the 10. I ran a corner route. I look up thinking the ball is going to land in my lap for the second touchdown of the game. It's going to be tied 14-14. Strip sack. Next time we touched the football was 28-7.
Kyle Rudolph, and we appreciate your stories, and that was a great memory for us. Maybe not as much for you, but we appreciate you sharing that with us. Anne-Marie, great stuff as well. For the listeners back home, if you are coming to New Orleans Saturday from 4 to 7, where is the location again?
The National World War II Museum.
Okay, everybody, a lot of Eagles fans coming down here. We appreciate you both stopping by. The Sports Bash Live, that interview was brought to you by Circle Hyundai off exit 109. It's worth the drive. Huge rebates and savings on every Circle Hyundai in stock. Visit CircleHyundai.com. More Sports Bash from Radio Row coming up on 97.3 ESPN.
Same game parlays and slot games for days. Double the fun with the Bally Bet app. Let's play. You can bet on football, basketball, baseball, or play blackjack, roulette, even baccarat, y'all. It's double the fun, 2 apps in one. Download it today, but only if you're 21. The Bally Bet Sportsbook and Casino app. You can win real money on your phone. No cap. Must be 21 plus, New Jersey only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Bally Bet Sportsbook and Casino.
Download it.
South Jersey's official play-by-play home of the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers.
At 0 point would I ever consider not being a fan of the team.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
This is the Sports Bash, live from Radio Row at the New Orleans Convention Center, home of Super Bowl 59. Now, here's Mike Gill and the Sports Bash.
All right, everybody, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, we are live on Radio Row this week. Our Radio Row coverage It's brought to you by Visit South Jersey. Plan your weekend getaway close to home at visitsouthjersey.com. Our interview with former Eagle, former Saint, Super Bowl champion, Malcolm Jenkins is on with us right now here on the Sports Bash. Well, it's always great to see you, and I know our listeners are thrilled to get a chance to hear from you. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. It's got, the stars are aligning for me right now. I live between Philly and New Orleans, so to have the Eagles in New Orleans all in the Super Bowl, it's a great week for me.
I know, you take a look at winning the Super Bowls here and in Philadelphia, and then seeing the Eagles back here and the success. Obviously the Saints struggled a little bit. You take a look at the Eagles changing things over so often. You were a part of that, and we hear so much this week about the culture. Give us a little insight on the culture of the Eagles and why you think that plays a role in them being here twice in 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about even just the team I was on, not many guys are still left. I think Brandon Graham might be, one of the few that I actually played with. Even coaching staff is different. So when you look at how do you maintain culture through that type of turnover, you have to start with ownership and leadership. And that's obviously Howie and what Mr. Lurie is doing with the team, that they always put winning and being competitive first. They bring in quality guys that understand what it means to be a part of a team, that understand what it means to play in Philadelphia, and have some mental toughness, because you've got to have it to play in Philly. And I think they've been able to consistently put to talented teams, on the field. And I think really the biggest question this year was coming in for me was what was the leadership going to look like for this team, losing to Jason Kelce,
right,
losing Fletcher Cox, and having the fallout that you did the year before. Leadership, it wasn't a talent issue, it was leadership. And to really see them, what Saquon Barkley brought to this locker room, to see the maturation of A.J. Brown, to see Jalen still standing up and being who he is, it's been a beautiful thing to watch. And that's something that you have to attribute to, top down.
I was going to ask you because, obviously the defense last year struggled so much, and they bring in a veteran coordinator,
Yep.
but there's so many young players on that defense. And you lose Fletcher Cox, a veteran player. Are you surprised at how quickly their defense was able to go from maybe one of the worst in the league last year to maybe one of the best in the league?
Well, not really. Once you have a coordinator who understands how to use personnel and put them in positions to succeed, you see the difference. But also, I don't think any of us could have predicted the play of Zach Bond. You got a guy who's playing probably should be Defensive Player of the Year at middle linebacker. And then you still bring C.J. Gardner-Johnson back as another veteran in that secondary who can make plays. I think you added the pieces that you needed to stabilize that defense and actually utilize the young talent that you have.
Isn't it funny, and I'm not trying to rip on anybody in the league, but like Joe Shane from the Giants gets all this slack, right, for letting Saquon walk, and nobody says anything about Zach Bond. I mean, he's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, just like Saquon is an Offensive Player of the Year and MVP candidate. Nobody says anything about that.
Yeah.
All right, so Malcolm, I've covered the team for 20 years now, and I've always said that the 2017 team was the best overall 53 I've seen from an Eagles team since I've jumped on the beat in 04, 05. This year's team might challenge it. I mean, from top to bottom, and that doesn't mean anything other than it's a great semblance of team. But when you look at this team compared to the one you played on, do you think it's more talented?
It's more talented, yeah. I think if you go position by position, they're more talented. I think we had a little bit more veteran leadership. We had guys who had championship caliber, who've been to championships and knew how to be consistent. And probably played above our actual talent levels sometimes.
Sure.
But this team, I think, by far, when you line up the roster, probably has more talent on paper.
Healthier, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Your guys.
Yeah, we came limping into it. And we had to really rely on on leadership and just kind of gutting it through. We had talent, but at the end there, it was more about us being a team more than anything. Where I think this group had to have that team stuff early.
Sure.
And as they've gone through the year, it's just their talent is just too much to overcome.
Malcolm, you have to have the nature of the position you played, corner, safety, nickel. You must have sort of an appreciation for what Cooper DeJean has been able to do pretty early in his career.
Yeah, and I think they do a great job. Playing a nickel is hard. You're not only you're covering like a corner, you're fitting like a safety, you're in the box as a linebacker. You have to know leverage. You have to understand run fits, the offensive scheme. You're closer to the ball, which means everything happens faster. And so usually as a rookie, that is tough to adjust to. But I think they've done a great job of keeping that package pretty limited for him, keeping it something that he can manage. I think his play has been phenomenal. And I think as he's grown in confidence, he just continued to play better. And it's definitely been impressive.
Two-time Super Bowl champion Malcolm Jenkins is here. And, of course, we're getting ready for the Super Bowl. But a lot of people come to this spot to expose people to something different and something new. And you're doing that with an event. You're exposing athletes to art, which is a pretty cool event that you've got going on here in the Big Easy. Yeah, I got exposed to art pretty early. Growing up, my aunt is an artist. But when I first got in the league, Larry Fitzgerald was somebody who he's a photographer, he's a collector of art, and I've always looked up to him. And I've grown my own appreciation for it. And it's something that I feel like artists, especially somewhere like New Orleans, where the artists and the athletes are the heroes of the city. Yeah. Right, so it's a great opportunity for us to the chefs.
Yeah, the chefs. Right? Culinary arts, that's all it's saying, right? But it's a great opportunity during this celebratory event to bring all of that together for a good cause. So I normally do things to raise money for my charity. We work in 4 states that I call home: Ohio, Louisiana, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And so I figured, we're going to raise some money and have some fun. Let's do it around art. So we're doing a game of art this week. We're partnered with Phillips Auction House to do an auction later this May. I've been on the scene going to different events, art fairs, traveling the world, and a lot of the art friends I've made over the last few years have donated works. So people like Hank Willis Thomas, Tavares Strand are donating works, and those funds will go to fund our programs and continue to have a lasting impact in the communities that we call home.
We'll get you out on this. 2 years ago, we had you on the show. And Eagles fans, they want to blitz, they want to blitz, they want to blitz, they want to blitz. And you said any coordinator worth their weight in salt does not want to blitz. They want to cover. Does Vic Fangio need to do something different in this particular game, or just keep rolling with what has gotten them here?
I think you have to roll with what's gotten you here. Obviously, you're going to be calculated. But I think it's if I'm them, I'm preaching, we've got to steal the possession. It's not that we're going to come out with a new defense and suddenly trick them into losing. We've got to just come out, do what we do, but we need to take the ball in some type of way. So whether that's punching it out, whether that's getting tips or overthrows, or creating some type of disruption that gives you those opportunities, I think that's got to be at the top of the list. But at all costs, do not change what's gotten you here. It's what your players know. It's what they're most comfortable with. It's what they'll play the fastest with. And as a coordinator, you don't want to do that. I wrote in my book, in my memoir, I talked about Jim Schwartz, how the night before the Super Bowl, he was afraid of the Patriots' fast-paced offense. So he had all of these substitutions and things and it just freaked us out. And I remember yelling at him and telling him, do not do that. We didn't do any of this up until this point.
Right.
Stick with what we know.
Yeah.
And that's what we did the next day.
Wow. Great insight. This interview with Malcolm Jenkins brought to you by Visit South Jersey. Plan your weekend getaway close to home at visitsouthjersey.com. One of your homes, right?
Yeah.
All right. Malcolm Jenkins here, kind enough to join us on Radio Row. Great to see you, man. You look great. You want to play on Sunday?
I think those days are over, but I'll be watching right along with you guys.
Hey, did he win a natty at Ohio State?
No, unfortunately, I lost 2 national championships back to back.
But you got one this year in spirit.
There you go. There it is.
There he is, Malcolm Jenkins, everybody here. 2-time Super Bowl champion on the Sports Bash. We have so much more coming up. And don't forget to visit SouthJersey.com. Brought you that conversation with the great Malcolm Jenkins.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live from Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by Dr. Lyle M. Back.
Hey, AI, how many touchdowns did the Eagles score in the 2023 season?
The Eagles scored 49 touchdowns in the 2023 season.
Hey, AI, I had a fall recently. I need to recover. Please help me walk again.
I'm sorry, but that is beyond my capabilities.
Hey, AI, my parents are getting older and I can't care for them by myself. Can you help me care for them?
I'm sorry, that is beyond my capabilities. AI will never replace care, but here's what I found for the best care near you.
Autumn Lake Healthcare Centers, trusted leaders in skilled nursing rehabilitation and senior care, and proud partners of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline nasal spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it! Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Winter is here. Are you prepared? Don't get left in the dark. Kelvy Electric, a certified Generac dealer, has you covered. From installation to maintenance, they're your go-to experts for Generac generators, ensuring your home stays powered through any storm. A Generac home standby generator will automatically restore power to your home during an outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Put your trust in Kelvy Electric, the premier electrical contractor, serving South Jersey for over 110 years. Visit KelvyElectric.com today and stay ahead of any storm.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. NBA, the Sixers hosting the Miami Heat tonight. Philadelphia beating the Dallas Mavericks on Tuesday, 118-116. It snapped a two-game losing skid. Tyrese Maxey scored 33 points. Joel Embiid returning to the lineup after missing about a month. He had a triple-double of 29 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists. NHL, the Flyers back home Thursday as they take on the Washington Capitals. Philadelphia has dropped 4 straight games. Tuesday in Salt Lake City, they fell to Utah 3-2 in overtime. They'll face a Washington team that leads the Eastern Conference and are second in the NHL in scoring. The Eagles continuing workouts in New Orleans in preparations for the Super Bowl on Sunday. Philadelphia entering the game with the number 1 total defense in the league, holding teams to 278 yards per contest. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Worst case scenario for tonight, a period of sleet and freezing rain. I call that icy mix, making for a slippery, sloppy situation on the roads through tomorrow morning. Best case scenario is an early flip to plain rain, making things just wet. Be very careful out there overnight. Stay alert to changing weather conditions. By tomorrow, we will be all rain. That'll wrap up early afternoon tomorrow, cloudy with a high of 44. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Now back to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live on Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by
GMS Law. Make the right call with 4 convenient locations to serve you. Visit gmslaw.com.
All right, everybody, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video streaming on the X platform and YouTube at Mike Gill Show. And today, we have the crossover with Inside the Bird. Jeff Mosher's here. All right, this interview is going to be fun. First off, Chris Candy, you didn't know this, but I was on your flight. How was Newark to New Orleans?
Oh, it was easy. Smooth sailing. You know, it is what it is. I can't get comfortable because I'm 6'8", 350 pounds. So
your seat was better than mine, put it that way.
Well, you can say that. I just didn't have a whole lot of room, even where I was seated at. So, I mean, I can never be comfortable on those flights, even if I'm flying first class. But we got in and out on time, no complaints. It was an easy trip.
It was nice.
In.
It was very nice.
Do you ever have to fly in the really small, I flew?
No, it was first class.
Yeah, but I flew to Indianapolis on those really tiny ones where there's one row each side.
The puddle jumpers?
And Connor Barwin was on the flight with me, and he's 6'7". He's long and lengthy, right? And I watched him sort of accordion himself into the chair with his and I'm like, my God, I don't know. If you don't have big seats, how do you do it?
It's not fun.
Rough.
He is, of course, one of the outstanding hosts of our morning show on 97.3 ESPN, Evan, Canty, Michelle. And Evan and Michelle will be on tomorrow. We got Canty today. So our audience perceives that you do not like the Philadelphia Eagles nor Nick Sirianni. Is that an accurate statement?
I'm not sure why the audience would feel that way. Jalen Carter is one of my favorite players in the entire NFL. And I've been saying that this guy's in the conversation for the best player on the Eagles since he was a rookie last year. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. Just the way that he's able to break down the interior of offensive lines, wreck games. If you don't put two sets of hands on him, he will absolutely crush your quarterback. I think Jalen Carter is one of the premier linemen, one of the premier defensive players in our entire game. So I love a lot of what the Philadelphia Eagles want to be about. Toughness, running the football, stopping the run, rushing the passer. That's a formula that has success, especially this time of year. I'm not sure why Eagles fans think I don't.
Well, I'll ask you this. Then who does that come from? Is that from Nick Sirianni, or does he get overlooked at his role in the things you just mentioned?
Well, I think the best thing that Nick Sirianni has done this year is not getting away, right? He's delegated responsibility. Kellen Moore has done a masterful job of calling the plays on the offensive end, but also developing an identity around Saquon Barkley and that physical offensive line running the football. And on defense, Vic Fangio has got it turned around in short order. Now, credit to Howie Roseman. He gets the hockey assist because of what he was able to do with drafting Quinyon Mitchell and drafting Cooper DeJean, and then also Nolan Smith last year in the first round. I mean, Jalen Carter. Think about it. You've got five starters on the defensive side of the ball, year 3 or younger.
Yep.
Howie has done a hell of a job being able to turn over that side of the ball, and Vic Fangio has done a great job at being able to put it together. And credit to Nick Sirianni for not fat-handing this thing and getting in the way of his coordinators doing their jobs. Because, listen, head coaches have egos just like everybody else.
Yeah.
It's hard to be good at your job if you don't have one. But to be able to check your ego at the door and empower your lieutenants to do their jobs, that's not easy, especially given the stakes, especially given that this guy could have been on the outs at the end of last year. Remember, it was over a week before they announced that Nick Sirianni was returning. The team had lost 6 of its final 7 games. So to be on the hot seat coming into this year and not step on your coordinator's toes in the interest of trying to preserve job security, he deserves a tremendous amount of credit for being able to do that.
By the way, real quick, this interview with Super Bowl champion Chris Canty is brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, your local source for plumbing, heating, and air conditioning service and installation. Since 1911, visit broadlees.net.
All right, Chris, let's nerd out a little bit and talk about the trenches. I'm sure that's your favorite part to talk about. You mentioned Jalen Carter, right? He's been a game wrecker throughout the playoffs. He saved that game against the Rams, right?
No doubt.
The Chiefs have a very good right guard in Trey Smith. So if you're Andy Reid, do you start the game saying, I'm going to have to see if my right guard can block Jalen Carter one-on-one, and then I can use my center and left guard, right, who's my struggling left guard, to try to double team.
Help Mike Caliendo. He's the fish.
Right.
He's the fish. And here's the
and
thing.
you guys know that, though.
Bill Williams is a problem, too.
That's what I'm saying.
He's a problem,
he needs the double team.
But when you're preparing this week, you guys go to coordinator and say, that's the guy, he's the fish, he's the guy?
Forget about going to the coordinator. We're fighting amongst each other. So you got to remember, when we won a Super Bowl, I was on a D-line that had Osi Umenyiora, Justin Tuck, Jason Pierre-Paul, Matthias Kiwanuka, Rocky Bernard, Linville Joseph, Dave Tollison.
That's pretty deep.
We were deep. And so we were fighting. Oh, Jimmy Kennedy was on that D-line too. We were literally fighting for the opportunity to line up against the fish. So we can get the sacks. Like we were just that kind of competitive group. And you feel some of those same vibes with this Eagles defensive front.
Mm-hmm.
That front four can take over a game. I mean, Josh Sweat and Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter, Milt Williams, Jordan Davis, when he's rolling in there, they can take over a game.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you've got to have a plan in terms of how to mitigate the disruption from that defensive front, and you know the sore spot is going to be that left guard position.
They need Smith. They need Trey Smith to be able to block Jalen Carter, because if they need to help Smith and leave somebody alone on Milton Williams, Caliendo, that's a problem. That's when it becomes a close game into a we just wrecked this game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know that you can always slide the protection to your left guard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if Vic Fangio decides to put Jalen Carter over Mike Caliendo and see what the adjustment is for the Kansas City Chiefs. Because if they're going to consistently slide the protection to help Mike Caliendo, well, then you're opening yourself up to being able to bring pressure from the other side of the line.
Sure.
I mean, it's what Steve Spagnuolo does a lot with Chris Jones. A lot of people don't recognize on that 4th and 5 in the AFC Championship game where Steve Spagnuolo brings the corner blitz off the left side. Chris Jones was lined up on Deion Dawkins on the right side of the formation.
Right.
So if they slid the protection to block the corner blitz, then all of a sudden you got your best pass rusher one-on-one. And so I think that's a little bit of the chess match that Vic Fangio has got to get into with Andy Reid in terms of how that offensive line is going to try to protect with that pass rush.
Chris Candy's with us. We always talk about coach and quarterback. It's Reid and Mahomes, and they've already cemented their legacy. What does it do for Sirianni? Hurts, his best game he might have ever played was in the Super Bowl, and they lost. So does he have to have a big game? That he's such a weird discussion with the coach quarterback. So if Sirianni and Hurts win this game, how does that change their dynamics?
Well, I absolutely think that has to put Hurts in the conversations of the best quarterbacks not named Patrick Mahomes in our game. Now, a lot of people will push back on that. They're saying, well, Jalen Hurts is not as quote-unquote talented as Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or Joe Burrow. Well, I don't care about talent as much as I care about winning. When you're talking about talent, it's because you can't talk about winning. And so I just, for Jalen Hurts to have an opportunity to beat Mahomes head-to-head in the postseason, in the Super Bowl, for him to get his team to 2 Super Bowls, for him to have his team in the playoffs. Every year he's been a starter.
Yeah.
To be a guy that's had an All-Pro, to be a guy that was a runner-up in an MVP race. For all of these things, he absolutely has to be in the conversation for best quarterbacks in our game. And I think that puts his career on a Hall of Fame trajectory.
Wow. How about that there, Jeff?
Hall of Fame trajectory? Well,
I absolutely.
the numbers will dictate it.
I absolutely think that about Jalen Hurts. That's how I feel.
And Sirianni?
I think the conversation.
That was a big sigh.
Well, here's what it does. It eliminates any conversation about Nick Sirianni.
Okay.
But we keep asking
I will tell you,
about
locally,
what does he do that's elite. It doesn't matter.
The Jacksonville game. I mean, he was getting people wanted him gone, and they won 10 straight after that. And people locally, he's still kind of a polarizing discussion, no question about it. But it's one of those non-conventional
How about the fake punt when we played against New Orleans in the Superdome? That was ridiculous. Or the Atlanta Falcons Monday night game where he throws the pass, Saquon drops the ball, and the Falcons told you on that very drive that they were concerned with time. That's why they jumped off sides.
Yep. Done a lot of non-conventional things.
So yes, Nick Sirianni, there have been game management gaps. He hasn't been perfect, and he's been the brunt of a lot of criticism and sometimes the butt of jokes. That all goes away with the Super Bowl win against Andy Reid.
He's Chris Candy. You can hear him weekday mornings right here on 97.3 ESPN. Super Bowl champion, Chris Candy with Evan Cohen, Michelle Smallman, and this man right here, Chris Candy. So, will Nick Sirianni get his first, or is Andy going to get his third?
Ooh, I don't think this is going to be a repeat of Super Bowl 57 where 70-plus points are scored. I think it's going to be closely contested, and in a close game, I don't know how you could bet against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So I'm rolling with the Kansas City Chiefs. I hate to do it. I think the Eagles have the better players. So when we're looking at these two teams, let's be clear about one thing. The Eagles have the better players. Now, whether they end up being the best team is yet to be determined. That's why they play the game. But the Eagles have the better players.
This is the prevailing theme coming down here. Everyone we spoke to has said that. And yet, I don't think if the Eagles lose the game, like most teams that have the better players, it's seen as a choke. I don't think people will say that.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, exactly. And Andy
Reid. It's not about losing the game as much as it is about him winning the game. And that's what happened in Super Bowl 57, right? He has the 20-yard scramble on third down, ends up setting up an opportunity for go-ahead points with Harrison Butker. I know that's after the defensive holding. But you understand.
Yes. Yeah.
Mahomes on a bum ankle in Super Bowl 57 making that play with his legs.
Just watched that game the other night.
It's getting Mahomes.
Right.
It's not just a noun, it's a verb. It's getting Mahomes.
Well, that field wasn't very good.
For both.
I know. I'm just saying. It wasn't a very.
It was not good.
The field was not good. This one should be much better. Chris Canty all this week on, of course, 97.3 ESPN, and then Monday morning he'll recap Super Bowl 59 right here on 97.3 ESPN. Good to see you, man.
All right, thanks for having me on, guys. Enjoy the game.
We certainly will. And that conversation with Chris Canty was brought to you by Broadleys Plumbing, your local source for plumbing, heating, and air conditioning. Service and installation since 1911. Visit Broadleys.net. More Sports Bash live on Radio Row in New Orleans is coming up here on 97.3 ESPN.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill live from Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by Dr. Lyle M. Back.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Are you ready, South Jersey? As the birds soar to the big game, Broadleys is here to keep your home comfort in the game. Don't let a broken heater or leaky pipe ruin your celebration. Call Broadleys Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning for fast, reliable service you can trust. Just dial 609-390-3907 or visit Broadleys.net. Go Birds and go with Broadleys, your hometown plumbing and heating champs since 1911.
Delicious Indian dishes. NJ.com ranked them as the #2 best restaurant in all of New Jersey. And this just in. It's their Eagles football special. Your table receives free tandoori, spicy chicken wings if the Eagles win for dine-in customers only. Join them for a special lunch buffet, Fridays through Sundays from 11:30 to 3 p.m. Visit thenizams.com for more information.
Now back to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live on Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by
GMS Law. Make the right call with 4 convenient locations to serve you. Visit gmslaw.com.
All right, welcome back. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. This hour is also brought to you by Dr. Lyle M. Back Cosmetic Surgery Center in Cherry Hill. Call 856-MAKEOVER or visit ilovelyle.back.com. So you just heard from Chris Canty and Malcolm Jenkins. We appreciate those guys jumping on board here on the Sports Bash. Malcolm Jenkins, of course, played for both the Eagles and the Saints, won a Super Bowl for both teams. And Chris Canty won a Super Bowl with the New York Football Giants. So did Canty clear up? Did you feel like he despises Nick Sirianni still?
I don't, but I do think the way he words some things, I can understand how.
Well, he's been very harsh
Eagles
and critical
fans-
of Sirianni throughout this year.
Right, and the way he words things, like I think he said if Nick wins, something like, or they'll have won it for him or something like that.
Well, if he just stays out of the, basically he said if he stays out of the way, he's
Yeah,
kinda
stays
been-
out of the way,
Yeah, he
right.
has been very adamant. Like if he just stays out of the way,
That can be viewed as condescending, I think, if you're looking for if you're looking, as many Eagles fans are, for a reason to say this guy
and,
hates the
even
team.
up to, okay, they make the playoffs, and it's like, well, if they don't make it to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl, then because, Nick's going to be a lame duck coach next year, and that's going to be a big story. If they lose the game, I would imagine the story becomes really interesting. If they win the game, obviously he cements himself possibly as the next coach here for the next 10 years. But do we think that Nick is a big factor in this game on Sunday, or does he just need to stay out of the way?
I mean, he's the head coach. He's got to be a big factor.
Well, I mean, we know that people question Nick.
Well, I think, Scott, don't you think, both of you think that some people sometimes have a difficult time separating game calling from game management? For example, if Nick wants to go, if the Eagles go for it on 4th down, that's Nick Sirianni's decision.
True.
The play call that they run is Kellen Moore's play call with, of course, Nick's they may consult, or Nick may want a certain play.
Sure.
But the design of the play is by the offensive coaching staff.
Or Jalen checks out of something entirely.
Right. And I think people are like, oh, man, Nick, you could tell Nick wanted to go for on 4th down. They ran his play. No, it doesn't work that way.
No. To me, some of Nick's greatest impacts are before the game. I think where, and I plan to talk to some of the guys tomorrow about this, you see clips that the Eagles release after the fact sometimes from meeting rooms and things like that. He has them closing their eyes and visualizing certain things. I think he's a great motivator behind the scenes. And I think back when he was on the hot seat going into that bye week, I think that's some of what these guys went out and played for. They played for him because they like what he does for them to help get them motivated and fired up. Rarely, guys, do we say that the Eagles were not ready to play a game. Have you noticed that? Like, have you ever found yourself kind of lately going, hey, they look like they came out flat?
Never.
No.
Now, they did have a lot of first-quarter scoring issues, but that became so consistent that you couldn't just say, oh, man, they weren't prepared for this game, or they weren't prepared for this Week 4 game. They just started off slow almost every single time.
So I think some of Nick's better impacts are in the unseen portions of the game, the things that take place behind the scenes to help these guys get ready to play, and I think they love him for that. In terms of, you're right, we know he made the decision to go for it on 4th down. The play call, well, that could go any which way. Calling timeouts, deciding to kick the field goal or not. We know that's Nick.
But I think, like, one of the big differences is, in a generation gone by, the head coach was the guy. The assistants were faceless, nameless people for the most part, right? You didn't even know who these guys were. Now, these guys are so well known, the coordinators.
Yep.
And the league has evolved where the coordinators are people that you know, but the mentality still is the coach. If he doesn't call the plays, what is he doing? If the coach isn't, the be-all, end-all, then he's not any good. We're still thinking of the coach as the figure that he was in the 90s, where, Jimmy Johnson, who was his offensive coordinator, who was the defensive coordinator.
Oh, but you knew who the special teams coordinator was, because Joe Aversano, may he rest in peace, was on every 5 seconds they had to show him on the sideline. But, yeah, to your point, usually you didn't know who the offensive and defensive coordinators were.
Yeah, and I think, the mentality for the fan hasn't evolved to where if the coach isn't that guy, then he mustn't be very good, right?
Yeah, do you think that the Seahawks fans had this kind of issue and struggle with Pete Carroll when he was coaching them? Because he was a very much CEO type of head coach who didn't have a specialty like an offensive play caller or defensive play caller. But I feel like nationally, people didn't struggle to give Pete Carroll the success that the team earned. I mean, they were a great defensive team.
And Carroll, much like Sirianni, a kind of a rah-rah guy, probably very great messaging behind closed doors, all of that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He was asked, Nick was asked today about that, by the way, about being more of the overseeing everything and what he thought of that this year. And his answer was, I was impressed by. He said, what he's found it gives him is that when they're in a meeting room, if a player needs him, he can duck out right away. He can get to that player, find out what they need, address it, right? He can go to another place. He can bounce out of meeting rooms and go in and out of places and be visible and heard and seen and observed. And I found, if you're involved in the play calling, you've got to be in that meeting room and you've got to have, all that time devoted to that because you're doing that job and not the head coach necessarily job. So
Right.
I think he's thrived better in this position than I think I expected him to, right? We were all, what is his job now? What's he going to do?
How's he going to find self-fulfillment?
Sure.
What you're describing sounds to me, Scott, a lot like what John Harbaugh does with the Ravens and has spoken about. A guy, even more so than Mike Tomlin, who I think is probably not jumping into Arthur Smith's meetings a whole lot.
Right.
Now, he made the decision to go to Russell Wilson against some of the people in his building, but for the most part, he's got his fingerprints on the defense and he leaves it to the offensive coordinator. But guys like Nick, guys like John Harbaugh, who speaks about being able to open yourself up to the entire locker room, meetings, doesn't matter if it's a cornerbacks meeting, if it's a running backs meeting. Harbaugh has talked about being able to weave between the lines there and straddle those, and he's been a great coach. And, again, that's another guy who people don't necessarily question they don't give him the Office Space line. What is it that you actually do here?
Right.
And maybe he had to win the Super Bowl first. It's hard to remember it in a vacuum. But they were successful right away. They drafted Joe Flacco. That was his first quarterback, if I'm not mistaken. They make the playoffs year one, and he was always in the playoffs until they won the Super Bowl. Well, guess what? It's Nick Sirianni, right? He just hasn't won the Super Bowl yet. So maybe, I forget who was said it, but maybe that's what he needs.
But how much do people when you hear Nick Sirianni think back to the plant growing comments and some of the things, in the Super Bowl, Jalen telling him to put his hand down after he was, taunting the other side.
He doesn't fit the profile. I know what you're getting at.
Well, he didn't. Does he now? Because to me, I don't know. Since earlier in the year when he was yelling at that fan, right? We all remember that. Since then, I've seen a guy who's stayed more level.
Yes.
And I wonder how much that has mattered.
I agree with you. And although I found that most fans didn't upset them. I thought it was sort of unprofessional behavior and unbecoming of someone who's a head coach. But, fans typically defend their own when it's their own, right? And they would criticize if it was another head coach. I think maybe, perception for a lot of people can be reality, right? And Harbaugh came from a football family. His father was a football coach. His brother was a quarterback and a very successful coach, right? And so he was seen as a football guy through and through. And to be honest with you, when John Harbaugh is at the podium, he's pretty polished, even more so than Jim. Jim's a little wacky at the podium.
Yeah.
Jim's a little bit more like Nick at the podium, but at least he played in the NFL and people knew who he was, and he was a tough-as-nails quarterback. I do think the perception of Nick early on was sort of this blithering, blathering guy, and it is starting to change a little bit.
Well, and keep in mind, first impressions you make. If you say, I don't think this guy's going to be any good at the start, it's very hard for people to then say, I was wrong about that. I now think this guy is good. And his opening, because Nick was never the guy that anybody wanted, right? Nobody said, you know who I want to coach this team? Nick Sirianni.
Yeah.
That would be the perfect hire for this team. When they hired him, it was like, huh? So it was either, okay, I'll give the guy a chance, or what idiots they are hiring this guy. There was no, what a smart hire this guy was. So here we are 4 years later.
I think the Eagles were the only team to interview him.
Yeah. So here we are 4 years later, though, and you're constantly looking for the crack to say, I was right, this guy's an idiot, right? Nobody was the guy that said, see, I told you this guy was the smart guy to hire.
Well, the interesting thing to me is we talk about what this game could mean for Jalen Hurts in some respect nationally. I think, we aren't talking about what it could mean for Nick Sirianni and respect among the league and around the league as a head coach, because as we've been talking about, I think it's an interesting thing to jump into and diagnose. It's the perception of who he is and what role he plays here. How much credit would he get for a Super Bowl win?
We got to take a quick timeout. When we come back, Daryl Moose Johnson is set to join us here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live from Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by Dr. Lyle M. Back.
Score a touchdown when you bank with Jersey Shore Federal Credit Union. Catch lower rates on loans and higher rates on savings. You'll cheer when you don't have to pay a penny to get your own money, since they offer 85,000 surcharge-free ATMs. Get the details or open an account online with just a $25 minimum deposit at JerseyShoreFCU.org. Or swing to a branch in Northfield, Galloway, Hamilton, or Rio Grande. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. and the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Go to get your game on at the Gallery Bar Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Get in on the parlay while in the middle of a party. Go for the sports scene and go for the endless screams. Go to the Gallery. Go to the Fanatics Sportsbook. Go for the win at Ocean Casino Resort. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Dell Technologies is celebrating with anniversary savings on their most popular tech. For a limited time only, save on select next-gen PCs like the XPS 16, powered by Intel Core Ultra processors and more. Plus, curate your dream setup with great deals on select monitors, mice, and more must-have electronics and accessories. When you shop online at Dell.com/deals, you'll have access to leading-edge technology to match your forward-thinking spirit and free shipping on everything. Again, that's Dell.com/deals.
There she is, founder and CEO. High five.
Dave can't stop celebrating with every business owner in town.
All right, Baker Man, high five.
He's sharing the excitement of big savings with the Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee.
Woo, up top, Bike Shop.
Yeah. It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
Quick, high five.
5 years of advanced security.
5 years.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Yeah, law partners. Chamberlain, Messelthorpe, Dubois.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Switch today and get the 5-year price lock guarantee.
5 years.
It's back, but only for a limited time.
Woo.
Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
Can't forget you, voiceover guy.
Ah, thanks, Dave.
High five.
Ends 3/9/25. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
Oh, by the way, Ivan's no longer on the project. His wife got a new job, so they're moving across the country.
Robin's top researcher is deviating to a new market. This isn't standard.
And now we're short-staffed. Who's going to finish all these projects?
She needs a cluster of new data analysts, and there's no margin for error.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money because you're in charge. And right now, you're going to pay for groceries. But you decide what groceries. Just keep in mind you're running out of dishwashing soap. But you decide if you're going to buy that soap. It's just those dishes won't clean themselves, will they? Remember, with Progressive's Name Your Price tool, we'll help you find coverage at a fair price. And then you're in charge. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Now Taxes is using Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get your refund so you can do more with it right in Credit Karma. Now this is taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. See guaranteed details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Ernest & Son Meat Market in Brigantine is your Eagles' big game headquarters, featuring a box of mouth-watering subs for up to 15 people for $80. The perfect addition for your Eagles party. Ernest & Son Meat Market delivers your big game trays, buffalo wings, meatballs, homemade sausage, and subs. Ernest & Son Meat Market is open 7 days a week from 9 to 4. Order early and call now, 266-1588. Ernest & Son Meat Market for your Eagles' big game catering, delivery, or pickup. Go Birds!
Now back to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, live on Radio Row in New Orleans, home of Super Bowl 59.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Brought to you this hour by
GMS Law. Make the right call with 4 convenient locations to serve you. Visit gmslaw.com.
All right, Sports Bash live on Radio Row, getting ready to wrap up the show. We got a busy day tomorrow, by the way, guys. Mike Gill, Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast. We're doing kind of a crossover all week long. And, of course, our partner here on Radio Row every year, Scott Grayson. Grayson, you got here Monday, right?
Yeah, I got here Monday afternoon.
So you went to the crazy
opening night
thing?
Clown show.
You were on Bourbon Street last night.
I did go down to Bourbon Street
You missed
last
a
night.
media party. I actually went to the media party. It's the first time I've ever gone.
Yeah.
It was wild. Not like wild, like out of control. It was the biggest room. And the food, and it was just everywhere you went. There was food and drinks and people and rooms and more rooms and another room. It just was nonstop. This Mardi Gras world over here.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel! It was.
I'm sorry,
it was something. This guy's like, yeah, you ain't lying, dude. It was crazy.
I heard the food was good.
Mosher, final point tonight on Sirianni.
Well, we were just talking about the perception, and we can't leave the Eagles themselves a little blameless in this. I know media can be overreactive, fans can be overreactive, and we get the brunt of the blame when we are. But he was a great coach record-wise, and then 1-6 happened, and then a week went by. You were wondering what's going on, and then like the Eagles have done this before with Doug Peterson. Now it warranted it, but this was a very successful coach who won the Super Bowl, was fired 3 seasons later. So the Eagles themselves kind of paint this, at times, impatient picture, or we demand excellence all the time. So you can't blame fans and media if the guy loses a couple games and you're wondering about his fate.
Well,
or wondering how important he is to the franchise.
It's funny because this team was 2-2. And they got to 2-2 to the break, and he had a couple of rough weeks right there where it seemed like it was. And from the bye week on, they turned this thing around. I asked somebody, I forget, it was last week's show, when they put last year's 1-6 behind them. Do you guys have like a game or a moment? His answer was the Giant game. The first Giant game, which I thought was ironic because the Giant game in 2017 when they kicked the 61-yarder was the game where you're like something special might happen with this team. Looking back, like hindsight was. But this year it felt like so many and then when they lost the game to Washington, it was almost like people wanted to, here comes the Rocky Road again.
No, I see when they lost the game to Washington, I fully blame C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You'll remember my Grayson's grades. I hammered him in there for that because Tristan McCollum only played because CJ got ejected from that game, and that's what the Commanders picked on and ultimately won the game doing that. For me, the moment that I felt like turned the corner was that Rams blowout out in L.A.
That's a good one.
Made me raise my eyebrows and say, wow, maybe they got something.
You spoke with Jeff Stoutland today. Give us a thought on that.
Man, what a great guy. I felt like I needed to get up and run through a wall after talking to him. I wanted to talk to him about interesting stuff here. I'll give you some of the interesting tidbits. Somebody had asked him from Barcelona, Spain, had asked him about what's it like to coach an offensive line, explain what an offensive line does, right? And Jeff's like, I love that question. And he starts talking about it. He said, one thing you might understand is the Olympics. He's like, synchronized swimming. He's like, I got to get 5 guys to do the same thing. He's like, and I will actually, in meetings, every now and then, I'll play a clip of synchronized swimming to show the players this is what it should look like when you're all on the same page, right? I found that to be fascinating, but a great visual, right, if you think of it. And he talked about his coaching style. He is relentless, but he's relentless because he cares. He talked about Jordan Mailata and how every year he keeps raising the bar in his mind on where Jordan could get to.
And by the way, who would have ever thought Stoutland was like a afterthought kind of hire when Chip Kelly?
Oh, he's been a great hire. I mean, he's been great. And then he talked about Mekhi Becton and how he said Mekhi is learning a new position.
Mm-hmm.
He said he's only started learning it. And he said if Mekhi sticks with it, like the ceiling for him, and he just raised, he's like way up here as to where he could be as a guard. And I just found that to be, impressive that, he sees all this potential from them. And then he gets it out of them. And they all told me they love the way he coaches them. He is relentless and he's very tough. But and as Stoutland said, he's like, some guys don't like to be coached up, but the ones who do are the ones who are successful.
Well, I tell you what, it is the biggest surprise to me in the NFL every year in January after Black Monday that some team does not just take a blank check and say, Jeff, he must have put it in through circles. He doesn't want to be a head coach.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you don't try. Phil Jackson was done with the NBA and wasn't going to take the Knicks job until Dolan said, here's your blank check, come, and he came. So I'm surprised no one's done that to Jeff Stoutland.
Well, day one is in the books. That's going to do it for us here on Radio Row at Super Bowl 59. We want to thank our sponsors for today's show. All our interviews were brought to you today by South Jersey Gas, Circle Hyundai, Broadly's Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Air Conditioning, New Jersey Motorsports Park. Visit southjersey.com, and Bally's Bets. We'll be back again tomorrow, and we've got some pretty fun guests lined up for tomorrow's show as well. Brian Baldinger is going to be on the show tomorrow. Former Chiefs wide receiver Dante Hall will be on the show tomorrow. Also appearing on tomorrow's show here on the Sports Bash, we're going to be talking with Michelle Smallman and Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike. Hall of Fame running back Shaun Alexander will be on the show tomorrow, as well as some great other guests. We're all back tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody.
Super Bowl 59 is on West